Hey, thanks for coming on the show.
Man, I am so happy to be here. I've been a big fan of yours on Instagram for a long time now. We did a little project together.
Yeah, we did. And it was such a fun project. It actually took a long time to do, but I'm so happy with the way it turned out. And I mean, I hope that you were happy with it as well.
I loved it, and
Good.
to
This
fill the people in, as you can see, I'm kind of a maniac pinball collector. I have about 50 machines and
You have 50 machines.
around there. Yeah.
What are some of your favorite pinball machines? I see
Well,
Jurassic Park in the background.
now you may mistake that for the old Data East Jurassic Park. Yeah. This is the new Stern Jurassic Park, and it might be the best pinball machine ever made. It is
Nice.
killer.
Is the first thing you said that's like the manufacturer name, Data East
Yeah, Data
versus
East.
Stern? Okay, because we're not all super pinball geeks.
Oh, sorry. I thought I was on a podcast that nerd people were into
Yeah.
like retro nostalgia. I think Data East was like Sega Pinball became Data East, and then actually became, I think, got bought by the early Stern stuff. So anyway, we
I
can
think one of my favorite pinball machines is Terminator 2.
in,
That one's incredible. Do you
that's
have that?
that's only because you haven't played way better pinball machines.
No, that's true. You know what? There's this place in Austin.
Pinballs,
What is it called?
pinballs.
Yeah,
If it's
pinballs.
thinking of, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
My buddy
I
Aaron and his wife Mickey own that place, and
nice.
there's actually three of them in Austin. It's the best place.
I've
Wow.
always wanted to go. I never got an opportunity to go. But I mean, like Drew said earlier, I mean, he's terrible at pinball, but I wouldn't say I'm bad. I'm not very good.
Right.
It's kind
Well,
of like bowling. I'll go bowling.
that comparison.
Yeah.
Everybody loves bowling, but most people are crappy at it, and that's
Yeah.
kind of equalizes the playing field, and everybody has fun.
I'm a really competitive person, but I also know my limits. Like, or if you have an aptitude for something or not. I've just always been really frustrated that I couldn't pick up pinball as quickly as other people. Like these, I'm not talking about people that are like really really skilled. Like I can't really get to like the baseline average level without you know
You're,
dedicating a lot more time to it, so I gave up.
I'm more into pinball than probably anyone you know. I'm probably 10 times better at pinball than anyone you know. And when I went to a real pinball tournament, I couldn't qualify in the C division at the tournament. I have 50 machines and I play at least a dozen hours of pinball a week, and I don't even scratch the surface of the really good guys. Like, I'm nowhere near them.
Yeah,
Wow. So
and
you
like
didn't even get like a celebrity shoe in? They weren't like, okay, well, this guy's a celebrity. Let's bring him on.
No,
No.
they let me commentate the finals.
well
Well, at least they let you do that.
yeah,
At least they let you participate.
Yeah,
What's your favorite pinball machine?
that one right there, man.
Oh,
Jurassic
the
Park.
Jurassic Park one.
Yeah.
Nice. And so you are a collector of pinball machines. Do you collect anything else?
Unfortunately, yeah. I
Let's hear it.
Wow, it never ends. My wife is tired of my boxes of shit that I've piled up over the years. But you're wearing a Batman shirt. Like that's another one of my favorite machines. There's a Batman '66 pinball machine. There's actually like three different Batman pinball machines, but the newest one is the coolest one. It's based on the Adam West show. So, that sent me down a rabbit hole of collecting Batman stuff. And I've kind of been collecting Batman comics like since the Frank Miller Dark Knight came out. So, I'm an old school early, like when graphic novels started to get kind of dark and serious, I got really into comics. So I've been collecting comics of all kinds, but particularly Batman's my favorite because he's like the only superhero with no superpowers, right?
Yeah, he's
just
rich.
he's rich and he works out and he gets the shit kicked out of him all the time. So I think
It's like a much cooler James Bond. I mean, it's a superhero version of James Bond. Yeah. But yeah, so y'all were going to explain because this is news to me, and I'm sure everyone is curious since you brought it up. What did y'all collaborate on?
well, friends of mine run a little boutique pinball company in Benton, Wisconsin. Population like in the hundreds, maybe 400 people. And this company Stern makes that did Jurassic Park. They make like 10,000 pinball machines a year of 8 different licenses. Right now they're making gosh, what are they making? Like Led Zeppelin, Star Wars, like Game of Thrones, like AAA big licenses. So these friends of mine in Wisconsin went after what was kind of a cult obscure kind of license. It was a little off the radar of the big guys, and I don't think anybody realized what a huge hit it was, and they landed the Rick and Morty license.
Oh, wow. Nice.
And they sold 750 pinball machines in like, I don't know, it was under 4 hours, I think.
Wow.
And this little company in Benton, Wisconsin, it's going to take them 2 years to make 750 pinball machines.
Insane.
It's a small little shop. So the lead designer is a friend of mine, this guy Scott Denisi. It's his second pinball machine, and he's a big retro nostalgia dude. He does all the music for his pinball machines, and he did a cassette only release for the soundtrack to his last pinball machine. And so this time around, when I stumbled across VCRWORLD, I went, oh my God, this is the perfect gift for my friends in Wisconsin who've had this runaway hit with their pinball machine. So I had a Rick and Morty VHS tape designed and sent it to them all as a surprise to the whole team.
You came out looking so good and authentic. I love it so much.
It looks so good. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? This is the first time I actually made a VHS box in that style. So I did it in the style of the old CBS Fox VHS, and there were inside flaps to make the box a little more sturdy. So it's the first time that I had ever done that. And now I've actually inherited that little trick and started using it on all the VHS that I make now. So because of you, now I have a new trick up my sleeve that's actually enhancing my VHS. So yeah, thank you so much for that.
What a fun little collaboration that was. And the guys at Spooky Pinball just loved it.
Oh, I'm so happy. That's awesome. And that's so cool that you have so many pinball machines.
Yeah.
That's insane. I've been wanting to start getting into collecting cabinet video games. And I want to start with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
No, don't, dude.
Why?
Don't. Because you can get the exact same experience on an emulator.
I know. Well, you can get the same experience of a pinball machine on an emulator.
A pinball machine is a physical like machine. It's got
That's the difference between math and kinetic motion and physics and energy.
You're right.
I also have one virtual pinball machine. Buddies of mine like built it for me. It's like state of the art. It's amazing. It has like 500 tables on it, and it's like 3/4 size. And I'm
really good at those.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
I have one of those, and I like it to check out rare games and things that I may not have played too much, but it's nothing like the real thing.
Yeah, I think that's why I'm so good at it. because it's totally different. There's not gravity involved, and it's actually weird to think that there would be a difference in the game at all. But I suppose it's because, yeah, gravity.
One day maybe the algorithm will catch up and it'll feel natural, but right now it's like night and day.
Oh, I'm sure with like augmented reality, we're gonna be there sooner than we think.
Yeah.
I don't want to delve too much into that right now because I know Drew is probably grinding his fingernails thinking that I'm going to start talking about Neuralink. And I mean, that's where we're headed though, Drew.
Hey,
it's one place we're heading. Yeah.
For this discussion, I'll talk about whatever you want to talk.
Well, I mean,
I think you hit on something that's like a really important distinction between what we love about VHS tapes is the physical nature of them. Obviously, you can have a USB stick that has 100 movies on it. It's more portable. I mean, I don't even know why I said a USB stick. You could just have them on the internet in the cloud. But a tape has character, like literal character, flaws and benefits, and a pinball machine, is going to be a little different every one for like depending on wear and tear and just everything about it. So
let me
nice save, Drew. Yeah, I know you're trying to keep me from talking about Neuralink, but I'm not. And what I was going to start talking about is the video that was released by Neuralink of the monkey playing Pong. And it makes me think, yeah, he could play Pong really well on this computer with his mind. But if you give him a paddle and let him play ping pong, I'm pretty sure he's going to suck.
Yeah. Maybe it must be better. Who knows?
Well, I can't think of a world competition in memory. I actually follow ping pong pretty closely, and I can't think of a single outcome where a non-human even placed in the top 10.
You're a big gamer. If there's balls involved, you're in.
Here's part of the reason.
Mm-hmm.
I have been fortunate to attend a couple of Olympic Games. And a buddy of mine who was involved with the programming one year, I was saying, "Oh, what should I see? I know I want to see this. I want to see that. What should I see?" He goes, "If you see one event, see Olympic table tennis."
And it is wild. Yeah.
I went to see the finals.
I've seen Forrest Gump. I believe it.
I went to the finals in an arena in Rio, and it was the German team against the Koreans. And it's the most exciting sporting event I've ever been to. There was it was a small arena, maybe 5,000 people, but it was packed to the gills, and every single person was going mental over every point. And every single hit, and I'm a lifetime ping pong player too, there wasn't a hit I could have returned.
There's the ones where they're running like 20 feet back behind the table to have to.
And their rallies are they go 27 smashes across the net, where 23 of them in a row are the hardest overhand smash you've ever seen.
Yep.
It's unbelievable. It's actually I've seen a lot of Olympic sports live, and it's my favorite.
It's a really cool sport because it's so intimate, and it's like a fight. It's like a battle. It's like it's just two people going at it, and it's like I said, it's so intimate. That's such a cool experience, I'm sure. Whenever I watch,
it's something that a lot of people have done, which separates it from a lot of other Olympic sports, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like most people have played even a lot, perhaps.
Yep.
Ping pong, right?
Yeah.
So you're watching people do something that it's like, when guys who played a lot of hockey in their lives watch NHL with a different sort of headspace. So you can actually understand what they're doing and just know that you're not, like, you can't even come close. I think that's part of the appeal for me, is knowing, like, I know how to hit, I know how to spin, I know how to smash, but I wouldn't get a
Yeah.
point. Like, not a point.
Yeah.
No.
When I was a kid, I would fold the table up and I would play myself, and I still sucked.
Yeah.
My dad would kick my ass every single time, and I still haven't let go. But it's a hard sport.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very, very difficult. It's probably one of the hardest sports that there is, I would say. Now that I think about it.
If there was a deadly component to it, it would be the sport. If you died,
Yeah. See, that would be cool.
that would get
that could be like a TV show. I just started watching Celebrity Deathmatch again recently.
Oh.
And I love it so much.
Yeah.
And this is like, I mean, all about Celebrity Deathmatch.
We need to start blood pong.
There we go. Yeah.
Blood pong would be fantastic. Or even blood pinball.
Yeah.
It could be a literal ticking time bomb, a ball, ticking time bomb ball. So after a certain number of hits, or like velocity, there's different ways you could rig it, but it's like glowing and glowing and glowing, and like if you don't get the next smash, it's gonna explode in your face.
I'm sure there's a think tank somewhere at the
Yeah.
This sounds like an X-Files episode.
Table Tennis Association. What if we add death?
Yeah.
Speaking of X-Files, what's your favorite X-Files episode? I know you have one.
I've got several, but I think my favorite was the super creepy one. Was it called Home? And it was like the woman that the boys kept.
Oh, yes, that's my wife's favorite episode.
And she was like hit by a car, and she said, "The boys hold me back."
Yeah, and so these boys, they're like inbred, right?
Yeah,
yeah.
And they like hide their mother under the bed, and they bring her out to have sex with her, and that episode was so out there.
Oh my god, it really is.
Boy, sewed me up like fixing breakfast.
Yeah.
God.
Oh my god, that's so funny that you say that, because my wife was like, I was like, what questions should I ask him? And she was like, well, you have to ask him what's his favorite episode of X-Files, obviously. And I was like, well, what's yours? And she was like, the one with the lady under the bed. And I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that. That one's fucked up. Mine is do you remember A Christmas Carol? Ever Mulder goes to this haunted house, and he calls Scully, and she's like, Mulder, it's Christmas, like you don't have anything better to do. So they go and investigate this haunted house, and they end up trying to kill each other. And I think it's a 2-part episode. They end up killing each other at the end of the episode. It's so good. It's one of the best. Yeah, and I think I really like it because it's a Christmas episode.
Yeah, it's not jarring any bells, and I thought I'd seen them all.
It's season 5, episode 6. I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Well, I don't know if you know this, but back in le day, as we say up here in Canada.
Oh, because you're like French.
Yeah, right.
Very, very French. Yeah.
Back in le jour. So somebody at the X-Files camp found out that we were huge fans, and they reached out to the band, and we got a tour of the set while they were filming one day when we were in LA. And they actually sent us for the tour bus. This box must have been 3.5 feet by 2 feet by 2 feet deep of VHS tapes with like 3 episodes on each tape. They were like screener copies. And so we had multiple seasons of X-Files on the bus on VHS tape.
What year was that?
That would have been 97, 96.
So, okay, so these tapes were like new, and you guys were getting them because of who you were.
Yeah, no, they were not available to the public.
Oh, that's awesome. That's beautiful. See, that's what people want to hear. That's what we want to talk about. We want to talk about you
Oh.
being a celebrity and being able to get X-Files on VHS.
That's at the top of the list. Yeah.
That's the top of the list right there.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's the pinnacle of all fame.
How
Yeah,
does
being
that
able to-
feel? I mean, you must feel like the most important person on the planet. You know, like just especially what 1996 you were this package. Nobody else has it.
Yeah.
And you're just like you're touring. I mean, that's
It was
so
the best.
awesome.
It was the best. I have a long history with VHS tapes, though. And I don't. How old are you guys?
80.
I'm
I was born in
33.
'84, so
Okay,
Yeah.
you're youngsters. So if you were born in
Yeah.
'84, in 1987, so when you were 3, I started working at a VHS rental store in Toronto, actually the suburbs of Toronto, Scarborough, and it was a new concept, and it took the city by storm, and it was called Video Van Gogh.
wow.
But
Ooh, that's a beautiful video
wasn't
store name.
Van Gogh.
Yeah.
It was Go, right? And so people could phone us, and I was one of the operators, and they go like, "Hey, like, what should I watch tonight?" And we had vans
Oh my God.
around the city with the whole inventory in each van, and we'd be able to look up in real time and say like, "Oh, you know what? You should check out." It's funny, the only title I can think of off the top of my mind right now, because they were all numbered. They had a 3-digit code, and number 100 was a hot
Lethal Weapon.
hot new movie with Whoopi Goldberg called Burglar.
Whoa. That's a deep cut.
We're always trying to push Burglar because it was always available.
So I mean, this is mind blowing stuff. Like you invented.
This is a
or
cool
you,
concept.
You were, yeah, it was Postmates for VHS.
I just worked there.
Yeah.
Worked there. So
But- right.
would hopefully, within a half hour, we would drop off the movie at the person's door, and then within 2 days, they could just drop it in a drop box, and we had like 100 drop boxes around the city and all the
Wow.
Like Redbox. I mean,
This
was
is
way
such
ahead
a
of
cool
its time.
concept
Yeah.
I've never even thought of, and it actually
so cool.
exists.
It was so cool, and it was in this one borough of the city called Scarborough. It's like a suburb on the east side of Toronto, and business went gangbusters. We hired I just worked there, but the people that ran it hired all kinds of drivers, and then they expanded from the one borough on the east end of the city to the whole city, and then all of a
Wow.
sudden it was like, yeah, we'll try to get that movie to you hopefully before 9. And they're like, it's 5:30.
Yeah.
So the wait times and we couldn't service the whole city, and the business, like, it just crashed in flames.
Well, part of the charm of a video store is actually going to the video store. So maybe, this Van Gogh company, maybe they were just doing it wrong.
Well, you know what?
It's a cool idea.
Because some of the coolness of going to the video store is chatting with the people at the store, right?
Yeah.
Getting recommendations. So we did that part. Like, everybody who worked the lines there were movie buffs. So we were like, people would actually call and like go, "Hey, is Ed there?" And they'd go like, "Hey, you recommended Birdie last time and I really liked it. Is there something like Birdie?" And I'm like, "Man, there's nothing like Birdie right now. But, you should try this one." And, so I actually ended up, I went to film school for a hot second. In university, I was studying film for like 6 months, and then I got offered a record deal and dropped out.
So what happened with the record deal? I mean, so when did you actually start making music, and then when were you offered a record deal, and how did that come about?
Well, I was the kid that everybody thought was like, I told everybody, well, I'm going to be a musician. I probably won't even go to university because, I'm going to be a professional musician. Like, probably like from when I'm in the fifth grade. I'm like, that's what I'm going to do. I don't want to do anything else. And then it was like 11th grade. And I'm like, I should probably do some homework and see if I can get into a university. And I started to think, well, maybe this music thing is not going to work out. And I was kind of a bright kid. And so I started studying. I did really well. I actually got a scholarship for marine biology.
Wow.
Wow.
Alaska U. So that was a possibility. And then it was kind of the point where I maybe kind of gave up. Like, okay, I'm not going to chase this dream. And at that point is when I started Barenaked Ladies. And it was just me and another guy, a couple acoustic guitars, and writing songs, playing, not thinking of it as a career, but just thinking of it like as a fun thing to do. And we started to build an audience. We're like, oh my God, what's happening here? Like, I'm trying to go to school. And then we got offered a national tour. And I was like, what am I going to do here? I actually consulted my partner at the time, Steve Page. My parents didn't really know what was going on with me. So I talked to his dad, and he said, take the year off school, go on tour. Like, this is a great opportunity. And if it doesn't work out, go back to school. Like, who cares? If you miss a year of school, who cares? You're young, go for it. And so we went on the road, and by the end of that one tour, we're talking like 1990 now, 89 or 90, we were that much more popular. Now we're like selling out big clubs in Toronto, and I go back to university. And I'm like, yeah, maybe I'll study film. Maybe I'll transfer into teachers college. I don't know what I'm going to do. And now we're starting to sell out clubs in cities all around there. And I'm thinking, oh man, this band thing's fun. But I'm still thinking I'm going to teachers college or something. And then we got offered a record deal. And I was like, I think this is real now.
Yeah, I'd say so.
So
Wow.
how did they reach out to you? What did they call you, or?
Yeah, well, people started coming around to gigs, and I wasn't that savvy. Like, I lived in the suburbs, so I didn't know who all the cool record company people were. But
I'm picturing like a big fat guy with a cigar coming up asking if you want to make $1 million. Like that's what I'm picturing. Like you're in the green room.
it wasn't like that. The first record deal we got offered was a super young guy. He was a brand new A&R guy at a record company in Canada called A&M Records. I think there was A&M in the US too. But he was like the new hire, and he was hot on our band. He came, took us out for lunch, introduced himself one night. He had long, cool hair. He was young, and he was like, hey, can I take you guys out to lunch tomorrow? I'm Alan Reed with A&M Records. We're like, yeah, free lunch, right? And he offered us a record deal for like $30,000 signing bonus. And, like we had spoken to a lawyer at that point, and he looked over the deal and he was like, guys, better things are coming. Anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Alan Reed is now the president of the Canadian Academy of Recording Arts and Sciences, and he still busts everybody's balls that like he could have signed Barenaked Ladies. Like, he was on to us before any of the other labels, but his bosses wouldn't give him the money that he would have needed to sign us. So we ended up signing directly to Reprise Records, and these are all like old record company guys.
Yeah.
No, but this guy Seymour Stein, who had signed Talking Heads and Madonna, and had this cool boutique label under Warner Brothers in New York. He sent a guy up to see us play at the University of Ottawa, I think, and the guy called Seymour Stein and said, give them whatever they want.
Well,
And Seymour Stein called us the next day. He said, Andy Paley says to give you whatever you guys want. So what do you want?
What'd you
So
say?
we literally wrote it down on a napkin. We were like, we want, X amount of money for a signing bonus. We want this, we want that, we want this. All of it was super fucking reasonable.
Yeah. We want a human-sized baby bottle filled with half and half. We want.
Here's what we did, though. We just asked for things that we knew we were worth. We went down the list, this, blah, 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 blah. The one thing we asked for, we want our masters to revert back to us after 10 years.
So savvy. I mean,
and then we said, and we want to sign the record deal at Scarborough City Hall, our little borough on the east end of Toronto.
Wow.
And he just signed back right away. Yep, we have a deal.
Wow. And your life has never been the same since that day.
No.
I remember I used to live in Austin, and I would play a lot of shows. And I was playing at Mohawks one night, and this girl approached me, and she told me she was with Touch and Go Records, who had also signed the Yeah Yeah Yeahs. And she was like, hey, I want to take you to dinner. I love your stuff. I want to talk to you about signing you and you going on tour. And I was like, wow, okay, great. And so we set up a dinner date. We went to this chicken place called Lucy's. And so I met her there, and I was like, hey, listen, I'm gonna pay for everything. Don't worry about it. I mean, she offered to pay, but I was like, don't worry about it. Like, this is a big deal for me. Like, I've never been in this position. So I offer to pay for everything. She invites a friend, and they have like a ton of drinks. They run up like $100 bill just in margaritas.
Right.
And I'm there with my bandmate. It's just me and him. He plays keyboard, I play guitar and sing. And afterwards I told him, I was like, dude, I'm not gonna sign with her. And he was like, why? I was like, dude, she invited a friend after I told her I would pay, and then they like ran up a bar tab and didn't even offer to pay for their drinks.
Right.
I was like, I'm not going to sign with somebody that does that. I don't know. And then it's like my life could have been totally different, but
things were a little touch and go at Touch and Go Records.
obviously. So once you got signed, you guys started touring even more.
Yeah.
And
we were like maniacs, and we were already kind of like indie critical darlings in Canada.
Yeah.
This weird success early on, before we even had a major label debut out. Our indie cassette only 5-song release that we made as a demo tape to try and get a record deal, it went platinum in Canada. Like a cassette only release.
Wow.
This is 1989, 1990. We were selling them off the stage at first, and then people were asking for them in big chain record stores, and so they were calling the number that the clubs had as a contact. And Steve's dad started a record label in order to distribute our cassette.
Wow.
And in 1990-91, the #1 record in the country was a cassette only indie release by Barenaked Ladies, followed by Madonna at #2 and U2 at #3.
Not bad.
So it's our debut release in Canada went diamond, went 10 times platinum, and then so we would literally play in in a small town in London, Ontario. We play for 14,000 people. We broke the attendance record previously held by Captain and Tennille. And then we drive over the border into Detroit and play for 400 people at the State Theater in Detroit. Like, the border was a brick wall for us, and nobody cared about the band south of the border. And so we were like the biggest thing Canada had ever seen. And then people got tired of us. And then we just set our sights on America, and we were back in the clubs. But we were in the clubs in a banging ballin' tour bus because
Yeah.
we sold so many records in Canada. So we're like opening for bands that are in a van with the whole band, and we're rolling.
Yeah, that is a really weird cultural split. I mean, it maybe what I'm hearing is like this happened so quickly and it was so like much success, but you got some a couple wake up calls to kind of keep you in check, at least in terms of how it was localized.
Yeah, totally. And then so we kind of fell off everyone's interest in Canada, and we weren't even on the radar in America yet. So it took almost like it was probably 6 or 7 years before we actually started to really see success in America. So then it was like a whole other level because then we went from like, Canadian success, like we're 1/10 of the size of your country, and then
Yeah.
we had similar success in America. So yeah, then it was a whole other thing. And by that time, we were 10 years into our career when we had our first number one single in America. So we had kind of already had a dress rehearsal for it up in Canada.
What was that? What was that single?
It was 1 week. So we had before that we had The Old Apartment, and it hit the top 40, and we people liked us, so we played at the Peach Pit after dark because Jason Priestley was a fan, so we were on 90210.
Nice.
We've been on Conan a couple times. Like I think we were on the 10th episode of Conan, or like the 7th. Like we were on super early. And we ended up doing that show like 10 or 11 times over the course of run.
I would imagine that you would have a lot of interesting celebrity party stories.
I have a lot of interesting celebrity stories, but not too many party. I was never a party guy.
No.
Like never. Like I did gigs, and then I would usually go find a pinball machine or something.
Nice.
I didn't smoke, I didn't drink, I didn't do any drugs. So I didn't like the scene. So I loved playing shows, I loved meeting people, but after the show, I was like never about the party.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I can
that can
understand
certainly
that.
be a big benefit in terms of not getting derailed from
Yeah.
from
Well, I will say, like, it still throws you for a loop, like
Yeah.
all of a sudden when a lot of fancy people around and it's exciting and alluring.
Yeah.
Still do stupid things even if you're not drunk.
Yeah. um so with 1 week, what year did you write that?
98.
In 98? And what inspired you to write that? I mean, your music is it's very original sounding. I couldn't really put like a genre. I couldn't, I couldn't even think of a genre that I would place on any of your music. So what were you listening to at the time besides your own music that you were playing? Were there bands that influenced you at the time that influenced you to write that song? Or
Yeah, always.
yeah.
The interesting thing about that song is I think, we were trying to be like an interesting melodic alt rock band, and sometimes we were super acoustic. The one thing that was always really important for the band was the singing and the harmonies, because we all sing. And lots of the guys are like classical, like choral singers. So the harmonic structure in the song was always super important to us. And Steve and I always took the lyrics really seriously. Even when they were silly lyrics, we were super serious about getting them right. And in our live show, always from the very beginning, it was filled with improv. We were always like every night we were making up multiple songs, 3 or 4 songs, and we got so good at it early on that a lot of times like people would really think we'd rehearsed them beforehand because they would have choruses, and by the time they had a first chorus, the next time we sang the chorus, it had 3-part harmony, you know? And like everybody was a good enough musician that they could just roll with it. And people were like, "Oh my God, that song, that was an amazing song about, you know, the way that that bar went in there. Like, when did you guys write that?" And we're like, "While it happened." Like,
Yeah.
and it'll never happen again, you know? So we were always doing these moments of spontaneity and lots of like freestyle rapping during the show. And I was a huge hip hop fan. Um, at that point, I was super into like Tribe Called Quest and Leaders of the New School and like some of this, like I was into early hip hop too and rap, but then these other groups came out like Dream Warriors in Canada and Tribe and um where the hip hop had a little more of an organic edge and the sampling got a little, they were tapping into jazz samples and the music got a lot more interesting and I was super into that. And so that kind of stuff was coming out in the shows all the time. And one week was a song that I literally freestyled. Like I had an old high 8 recorder and I pressed record and I freestyled it for like 3.5 minutes. And then I just edited all the good parts. Well, I edited out all the bad parts.
Yeah.
I kept all the good parts. I sent it to the guys in the band and said, "What do you think of this?" And they were all laughing like, "Oh, it's perfect. It's hilarious." But the whole idea was to include it as a B-side to be indicative of what we do in our shows. So I freestyled it, I improvised it. We were just going to lay down a groove and record this freestyle basically. And then Sue Drew from the record company, who we love, she called us and said, "So we're going to lead off with 1 week." And I actually like laughed this kind of embarrassed laugh because I actually thought she was just making fun of me.
Uh-huh.
I thought she was saying that song is the stupidest thing I've and how dare you even deign to put it on the record. But she was serious. I thought she was crazy, and it went to number one.
Wow. I mean, it's so it goes to show how hard it can be to judge our own the things we create and the
That's what
like
I
the
was saying.
appeal of them.
I never know what's good. I
Yeah.
never. I just,
So whenever you were finished recording this song, you didn't know that it was going to be a hit.
I didn't even know if it would be on the record.
Yeah.
I really didn't.
And now it's a huge piece of 90s pop culture. You know, anytime someone's talking, if someone's talking and they say it's been, I'll be like, "Yeah, it's been."
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't do it like you. I don't know if I sounded like you at all there. I tried, but
Every couple of months, I get a request from one or another like late night show to license
Yeah.
the song because they want to do some bit that includes it or do like a parody. Every time I'm like, yes,
really,
please use it. Please make fun of it. Family Guy, like it. They just the request coming in, and every time I go, yeah,
yeah.
yes, because I
Can you give us a little? It's been. Can you give us a little bit of that?
I can't.
You
I
can't.
can't.
It's okay. It's okay.
No, I could, but you know, on the record, it's the old singer who hasn't been in the band for 10 years.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Band. So I'm the chickadee China, the Chinese. That's me.
Yeah.
Ooh, whoa! Don't stop.
Well, no, I think it's got to be. It's I don't mind it. Like if I was the It's Been guy and you said, "Can you give me an It's Been?" I'd be all over it.
Yeah,
But I'm the chickadee China guy.
but that's
But
the best part.
it's gotta suck for Steve, who hasn't been in the band for 10 years, because he's still the It's Been guy.
Yeah.
And I wrote it, and people keep asking him to do the It's Been. So my apologies, Steve Page. I know you're sick of it, but hey, it helped everybody.
it Did you always have like a really good attitude about like becoming when you know something becomes so popular that it gets repeated, it gets licensed? Were you ever like trying to avoid that level of mass awareness, or just fully embracing it?
I've never understood that when people don't like their hit songs, or
Right.
they
Yeah.
they resent their success, or they resent people asking them to play like the most popular song. There's a song we have called If I Had $1 Million that was on our first record. And I think if we didn't play it in a live show, people would be super disappointed. And we play
Yeah.
it every show. Like we have played it every show that we've ever done. And I never get sick of it. Never. Like I've played that song thousands of times. And every time I play it, I look out at a sea of joy and people singing along, and it's like a touchstone for people. It takes them to a point in their life, whatever it is. And even fans that have been to, like, we've got fans that have come to 150 shows, you know? Even those people are like, oh, it's this part of the night where I'm a member of the crowd and we're all singing along and it's a celebratory thing. And this is the band I love and they love us as an audience. And this is our time to like commune, you know?
Yeah.
I I feel bad for bands that don't feel that way. Like I love when I play the opening couple notes of a song and a cheer comes back from the audience.
Yeah.
Like fuck, I wrote that in in my cottage, just trying to work through some emotional shit, and now I play the first three notes on guitar and I hear you know
Yeah, it's such a
Amazing.
beautiful experience to create something and be appreciated for that creation. And in a sense, other people are getting to know you better from listening to your music. I mean, because it comes from your heart. I mean, every note that you write, every word, it's all from the heart. It's all from experience. And whenever someone celebrates that, it's a really good feeling.
Well, and I could have a complicated history because I did the first 20 years of my writing were primarily with this one writing and singing partner, kind of a co-frontman in the band. He did most of the singing back then. Um, and we worked together for 20 years. And then we took different paths. And so I continued with Barenaked Ladies, and he's been making solo records. And so all that time, like it was hard. It was really hard to split up with a writing partner and we'd been through so much together. We'd been to grade school together. I'd known him most of my life. So it was hard. It was sad. Like I was angry. I was all kinds of difficult emotions. But luckily, I love all that music. Like, and I'm still able to connect with all that despite of all the like personal difficulties and the like I could have moved away from that being super bitter about the breakup and go like, well fuck it, I'm not going to play any of his songs anymore, you know? But
So
I
does
love
he
his
still
songs.
play his songs?
Yeah, he still plays his songs. I I don't know if he's ever played any of mine, but
Yeah.
but he went, I continued with Barenaked Ladies. He's now a solo guy, right?
Yeah. And how did that decision come about? Did you guys come to an agreement, or I
Yeah.
mean, with
We tried to be
yeah.
civil about it. We just couldn't work together anymore. So, we tried to take the high road about it and break up in a way that wasn't vindictive or, uh, it was difficult as hell, but we tried to make it as easy as possible.
Do you guys still talk?
Barely.
Yeah.
Um, a couple times a year we'll text each other, like if I remember or if I run into something that reminds me. It's difficult. Like
Yeah.
it's not easy.
Well, bands are like one of the only creative partnerships or multi-party things that you're like expected to spend, you know,
Way more.
decades or more like together with the same people. Yeah.
You're working together, you're eating together,
Yeah.
you're sleeping in the same tour bus. You like being in a band with somebody for 20 years is like being married for 80 years.
Right. Yeah. It's people are surprised that, or, you know, always wondering why bands can't stay together longer. But any band that stays together for, you know, 5+years is a real miracle in a lot of ways. Obviously, you like the people that you're creating stuff with, but it's just, yeah, such a hyper
Yeah,
intimate, like,
super intense. And I love all the things we created, but I can't go back to that relationship. Like it was unhealthy.
yeah.
You know? So now I still love all the stuff we made, and now I love all the stuff the band's doing now, so I'm able to like celebrate both. But when people are like, "Oh, do you think, I really wish you'd get back together with Steve," and I'm like, "I really wish you'd get back together with your ex-husband."
Right.
I like that. I know you guys were fighting all
Yeah.
the time, and there was some mental abuse going on there and stuff, but for me, you guys
Yeah.
should get back together.
I wasn't there. I didn't experience it, but
Yeah,
I like it.
I like your kids.
Yeah.
It's not like it's not like their cassettes or CDs are destroyed either. You know, the music is still there.
That
So,
music's still there.
yeah.
Yeah, whenever I turned down that record label, my bandmate who played piano, he was like, "Dude, what the fuck is your problem?" And I was like, I can't see myself working with somebody that's not going to pay for their own drinks. I'm sorry. But and we broke up like immediately after that, just because I didn't like his attitude about it. And it was just kind of just a wishy-washy relationship anyway. So now I play every instrument and I do it all from my computer, my keyboard, whether it's guitar, sing, I do everything and I love it. And I don't think I could ever work with anybody else. I mean, it's so hard to work with an entire band. Like I couldn't even imagine.
Yeah, it's I mean, I think the reason we've been together as long as we have is because I actually really like working with the guys in my band, and they really like my songs, and they bring a lot to my songs.
That's good.
And I do to theirs too. So I love writing something that's super skeletal. Like I'll write a melody and a guitar part, and I actually you guys know from us trying to set up this recording, I'm just learning Pro Tools. Like I've been a pro musician for 32 years, and it's only because of lockdown that I had to get home studio equipment and actually learn how to use this stuff. But I used to record an acoustic guitar and a vocal either into GarageBand or right into my phone, and I would just send it to the guys, and then they add their own parts. Like I was never into making a big fancy demo, because I like the guys in my band coming up with what they want to do for the song.
Has the pandemic been helpful to your writing or creativity? Just, being staying home and having more time to yourself. Do you find more creativity comes from that?
I had just come off a really intense writing period, and we were actually in the middle of making a record when we went into lockdown. So it took us a couple months. That's why I set up the studio up here. We couldn't get into a studio. Um, and so I recorded a bunch of my vocals, like right in this room. Um, and so I haven't felt the need to write. I've written just a couple of things. People ask me to write. Uh, I wrote a theme song for a podcast. I've done a couple little projects like that, but mostly what I've done is I've learned to use Pro Tools, and I've learned to edit in Adobe Premiere because I've done a whole bunch of solo, like corporate and private gigs and stuff. So I've done like 4 camera shoots in here by myself and editing it and mixing it in Pro Tools. And that's been really fun. You know, so I'm
It's
learning a lot, but I haven't been writing almost at all.
I mean, it's good that, like, even if things, hopefully soon go, you can tour and you can play live shows again. Like, it's just these are all good options to have periodically to be able to reach people in different ways. And yeah, like the access people have had to different people because of the pandemic has been really interesting. Whether it's podcasting with people or doing live shows that anyone can stream. I mean, people are very excited to get back to, like, uh, getting together in person and watching live music. I mean, that's probably I can't imagine how um, anyone that goes to a lot of shows, or obviously anyone that's in a band. I mean, you're never going to simulate that kind of live in person energy.
Well, it's the first time in
Yeah.
30 years that I haven't been in 100 to 150 different cities every year.
Yeah.
Right. So that was weird at first. I've never been home this long. And
Whenever you're gone, do you take your family with you, or
occasionally, but like,
yeah?
my wife works. My daughter works full time now. She's 25. My boys are 21 and 18. So they have shit to do. So they can't just follow me around, you know? So, hopefully it works out and like they can come spend a weekend in New York when I'm there, or LA or something. Like they visit me, or I'll pop home on a day off. But generally, we try not to be gone longer than 6 weeks at a time, and then home for a couple weeks and then out. But now I've been home since, December of 2019. We had a huge tour booked for last summer that we moved to this summer, and we've now moved it to next summer. So, we're just going to have to see how it goes. I'm hoping that the fall tour of the UK is going to go as planned. They're doing really well with vaccinations in the UK. I think half the population has had one shot and a quarter of the population has had both. So that's a good sign. If that keeps on that trend, our fall tour might happen.
Do you guys plan on coming to San Antonio at all, or Austin?
Yeah, well, we play in Austin a bunch. I've played in San Antonio a few times over the years. We usually play the theater downtown. Is it the Moody?
The Majestic,
The one
or
where they tape
downtown Austin?
units. Yeah,
Oh, where they do the ACL stuff.
yeah. Is it called the Moody?
Moody, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that room. It's really cool.
Well, if you guys come to Texas, I'll be sure and be there.
Yeah, please, man. Tickets are on me if you can make it anywhere.
Awesome, thank
I'm
you.
in Portland. I'm sure that's a common stop on tours you
one?
do too.
Cool Portland or the shit Portland?
Well, see, if you're an East Coast Canadian resident, maybe you like the East Coast Portland, but the West Coast Portland.
Oh,
Yeah. Portland, Oregon.
hey.
Not Portland, Rhode Island. I didn't know anyone. No one ever asked me a follow-up question to Portland. I mean, in terms of which one, but there are two. Yes.
I'm totally kidding.
Yeah.
Portland, Maine is actually one of my favorite cities. We got the key to the city in Portland, Maine, before we had it in our hometown of Toronto.
Wow.
Yeah, it was bizarre, man.
Where do you have that?
Lots of places. It's ridiculous.
No, I mean, where do you put it? Where do you put something like that? They actually give you like a big key?
Yeah, big like ceremonial, big brass.
What do you hang it up over your fireplace?
I just, if I'm doing some late night driving, I'll pass through Portland because I got the key. I can stay anywhere.
Put it on your keychain.
Yeah,
I knew that was a thing that happened in like TV shows, but it's
actually.
yeah.
Oh wow, what a relief! I can't wait to get mine.
Here's a funny story. Touring. It was called the Au Naturel tour We were touring with Alanis Morissette, a double bill. So in some cities we were headlining, in some cities she was headlining, depending on how we'd done there recently. And so her camp was, we're pretty relaxed on the road, and her camp was a little on edge. Let's just say there seemed to be a lot of eggshells around the venue, to put it, So anyway, we are having a heck of a night one night, and we're headlining, and Alanis is on first, and all we can hear is the tour manager screaming at this pizza place, "Where the fuck are these pizzas? They were supposed to be here by this time." We were in Portland, Oregon, and he ordered pizzas from Portland, Maine.
Oh no.
He ordered 20 pizzas for band and crew, and he just told them, we're at the big venue, and they probably said, what, the Data East Bank Center? And he went, yeah, whatever, the big one.
Wow.
Portland, Maine, they paid credit card over the phone. They showed up at a venue with a bunch of pizzas and handed them off to the production office. And
oh man,
3,000 miles away, waiting on her pizza.
Wow. I guess that a lot of people don't consider that there are two Portlands. So
hopefully that guy didn't know they were for Alanis Morissette. Otherwise, his whole life is ruined.
Oh, I'll bet you that he screamed, "This is for Alanis Morissette." You gotta
get.
He probably finally got to the venue, and Hoobastank was playing there.
And this is a story he's telling his kids.
Totally.
He's still telling it to people. He's telling it to his grandkids. I remember one day. What an incredible story. And I love that they were so pissed off.
Yeah. Just screaming into the phone.
Yeah.
And one of our crew guys,
I'm not paying for late pizza.
One of our crew guys looked up the pizza place, and he just said, "Wrong Portland, dude."
Wow. Yeah.
You guys are over there eating pizza. Someone's gonna have to puke it up because it's all gone.
This Portland, Oregon pizza is delicious.
Yep.
Oh my God.
I didn't say it, but Portland, Oregon, awesome city, and kind of American pinball mecca.
Really?
Yeah. So there are a lot of places similar to the pinballs place in Austin here. And there's just a lot of random bars that have pinball machines. It's not like they're not a pinball bar. They're just, they have a machine.
Actually have more pinballs on location than any other North American city. There's several big arcades and arcade bars, but there's pinball machines everywhere in that town. It's the coolest.
Yeah, that's why I've had to constantly feel inadequate about my skills, because they pop up a lot more than you would think.
Yeah. No, it's a great town.
So who are some of the best bands that you ever toured with? Some of the best times you've ever had with them? I'm sure you toured with so many iconic 90s bands. It must be insane to think about.
Yeah, we toured with everybody, or at least played shows with everybody.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I've had very few bad experiences over the years. When I think back, we loved playing with Semisonic in the late 90s. Those guys were great. The Scottish band, the Proclaimers, we toured with them. They were awesome. We toured last year, 2 years ago now, with Hootie and the Blowfish. We went out with those guys, opened up for them. We had an amazing time. It was so great. Those guys are so cool, and it was a great hang all summer. But yeah, we played with a million bands. Better Than Ezra were awesome. We did a tour maybe 4 or 5 years ago with OMD and Howard Jones opening up. You guys might be a little too young for those bands. They were mid to late 80s, huge. they were on like every movie soundtrack, like the Pretty in Pink soundtrack and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Those bands, the Breakfast Club.
Yeah.
Violent Femmes, toured with them a bunch. Yeah, like it's insane the number of bands we've played.
Smashing Pumpkins.
Yeah, played with them. We did
Really?
Yeah, we did the Horde Festival with them back in the day. There's
Wow.
few bands that you could name from the 90s.
Bush.
Yep, played with Bush. Didn't tour with them, but did a radio show with them.
Wow.
There would be-
Marilyn Manson.
Never played with them.
It would be
Finally-
such a
finally
good
got him.
show, though.
Yeah.
It would be so great.
There were so many shows back in the mid to late 90s. There were these big radio station festivals, and it would be like, the lineup would be Ben Folds 5, Barenaked Ladies, Foo Fighters.
I remember those. Yeah.
What was Scott Weiland's band after STP? He had another band, or he might have been back with STP at the time. Like,
I know what you're talking about. I can't. It's at the tip of my tongue. I can't.
crazy lineups of like
Yeah.
all these bands that were massive. We played with Metallica one time in Chicago. Like,
Wow.
we played over in Germany. We did all the big German rock fests in Denmark and Sweden. Played these massive. We did Glastonbury in the UK like 3 or 4 times. So you're playing with
I could keep naming people like the Wallflowers,
yeah.
Collective Soul.
Oh yeah.
What about
Yeah.
Silverchair?
Probably at one of those radio shows. Yeah, I think we played.
Wow.
Yeah, we definitely played with Silverchair. Funny Wallflower story for you. So I was a big fan of that Wallflowers record. And, the big story at the time, because he was a new artist and there was all kinds of buzz and he was on the cover of Rolling Stone. And I don't know if you know this about Jakob Dylan, but he has a father who's also in the music business.
A little bit. Yep.
And I can understand that he was a little bit tired of talking about it because he was trying to make a name for himself. He'd made a great record. He had a hit on the radio. And certainly his father opened a few doors for him. But it certainly put a huge target on him. People wanted to say how crappy he was, and he just happened to make a great record. But we went into a radio station, and he had just been in, and the DJs were rattled. And as they were like, and they wanted us to like jump on the bandwagon. They're like, oh, Jacob didn't want to talk about his dad, or, all this stuff. And Steve said at the time, he said, well, we can talk about my dad if you want. He's a school teacher.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't get it. Like, if I had a famous parent, I would want to talk about her all the time. Like, if Phyllis Diller was my mom, and they said, we're talking about Jacob Diller, right? His mom's Phyllis Diller. And they started laughing, and it kind of diffused the situation. Then we moved on. Like, they wanted us to go, oh yeah, Jakob Dylan's an asshole, but I wasn't going to do that because I really liked the record and I hadn't met him yet. So we're playing at a big festival in Atlanta, and I get out of the van, and I see Jacob in the distance. He's walking towards me, and I go, oh, maybe I'll introduce myself. But now I see he's walking right towards me, and I'm like, oh, there's something a little weird about this.
Uh-oh.
He gets right in my face, aggressive, and he goes, do we have a fucking problem?
What?
Exactly. I go,
Oh.
"What?" I go, hey, Jacob,
You're the one with one headlight. I don't have a problem. You do.
Cops pulled you over, man. I'm just a passenger. So I go, what? Hey, I'm Ed from Barenaked Ladies. He goes, yeah, I know who you are. My band guys said you guys were talking shit about me on the radio. And I said, well, no, actually, if you want to hear what happened. And then I told him the story, and I said, you know, if my mom was Jacob Diller, I'd want to talk. If my mom was Phyllis Diller, I want to talk about her all the time. And he had like he was about to punch me in the face the whole time. I'm thinking I'm going to get punched in the face by Jacob Dylan, so I'm ready.
Yeah,
Right.
this is awesome.
Bring it on. Yeah.
Stop or block, you know.
Yeah.
I'm looking for his hands, which are still in his pockets, but he's fucking aggressive. And I said, you know, if my mom was Phyllis Diller, and he just cracked a huge smile, and he goes, "Oh, that's funny, man. So are we cool?" And I was like, "Yeah, if you're cool, I'm cool." And from that point on, whenever we ran into each other at shows, he'd like beeline for me. Ed, what's up? It's good to see you guys. You know, I'm looking forward to the set tonight. But he was not messing around the first time I met him.
Yeah. I mean, and it's so like secondhand in terms of if somebody just says,
Wait, so is his dad Bob Dylan?
Are you kidding?
No, I'm not. Honestly, I never knew that.
Wow. So you're young enough that it didn't matter. Wallflowers were just a big.
Well, it's because he wouldn't talk about it in interviews.
Well,
So
you know,
Brian didn't
well,
know.
I knew about bands that would play on the radio. You know, I grew up in the 90s. I was born in 1987. So, you know, you'd listen to the radio. By the time I was old enough to buy CDs, I didn't really care about the artist names. I cared about the band names.
Sure. And you knew the hit songs, right?
I knew the hit songs. And you know, now that I think about it, I've actually started looking back at the bands that I actually really loved. And I'm like, why didn't I listen to all their songs? Like,
Right.
I have a certain list of songs that I really like from each band, but they
Yeah.
have so many songs that are out that I've never even heard.
Yeah.
And so I'll go back and I'll start listening to those songs and I'm like, wow, like they actually are a really incredible band. It's too bad that the radio didn't play all these other songs.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a weird thing to think about. Like Nirvana, for instance, you know, they have a lot of good songs, but a lot of songs that I've never even heard.
Totally.
But that's
Yeah.
kind of a good thing and kind of like a cool little secret treasure. Whenever you're older, you can go back and it's like those bands, if they're not still around, are around making music because you're listening to songs you've never even heard from some of your favorite artists.
Yeah. Totally. It's, you know, through the pandemic, lots of artists have been doing like solo shows or virtual performances and stuff. I considered myself a big Death Cab for Cutie fan. And then I saw Ben Gibbard do a couple
Yeah.
of solo performances. And I go like,
Yeah, he's been going live.
what is that song? Like, that song's incredible. And
Yeah.
then I'm like, oh, I guess I didn't listen to that particular record as much as I thought I did. You know,
Yeah, he was going live for like an hour.
I listened to Kintsugi for like a year straight. And then there are other records where I listen to them and I go, oh yeah, What Sarah Said, that's a great song. But then there's songs on the record that I missed. So yeah, he's been playing a lot and I've been loving it every time.
I
Yeah,
think
same here.
it's always been imperative, I guess, to have a single to play on the radio, but it certainly got way more single focused in term like at the time when Brian and I were growing up, and unless you have parents who are like audiophiles and are telling you like this is the right way to listen to
Yeah.
music is for listen to the whole album, put on a record and look at the liner notes, and like you almost have to totally learn that type of behavior. It was not a thing that I grew up knowing to do. So
Yeah, well, my generation grew up putting records on,
Yeah.
right? It was
Yeah.
difficult to skip to a particular track, so we just put the whole record on. So we grew up as an album generation listening to the whole record, and then you're right, it became a lot more singles focused. And
Yeah.
we approach our live show to this day like we think of when, you know, if we're going to play a 90-minute set, we sort of think of it like, okay, 2/3 of that set is for the audience. It's what they came to hear. So we got to hit these show points. We got to play one week. We got to play If I Had $1 Million. We got to play Old Apartment. We got to play Pinch Me. Like, we're lucky we've had a lot of hits over the years. So we can structure a show so that, like, you know, an hour or more of that 90 minutes is going to be music that's really familiar to people. And we pepper that throughout the set. And then we go, okay, a half hour of music, that's for us. Where we play deeper album cuts. We can rotate them out night after night. When we get bored of something, we can just swap it for something else. And so the audience leaves our show going like, oh my God, they played like all the hits. They played everything I wanted to hear. And yet, wow, they played this song I've never heard before. You know, and the Uber fan is like, oh my God, they finally played this B-side, you know, whatever it is. So I like to approach it like that. Like,
what's the song that you come back out to play? So
that,
everybody leaves the stage.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Yeah, that changes.
You guys, okay, it changes.
Yeah, what we come back out with, we finish with If I Had $1 Million every time. But what we come out and do for an encore is always changes.
That's actually a really interesting question I've never thought about. Does the band go backstage and have a little strategy session and game plan what you're going to come back out with?
Most of the time, no. Most
Okay.
of the time, it's decided early in the day because there's a lot of moving parts. So it's like,
Right.
tonight for the encore, we're going to do X and Y. And we might change that up, or we might keep that pretty consistent over a tour or half a tour until we get bored of it, whatever it is. But there's guitar techs and lighting
Right.
guys, riggers and stuff. They need to know what's coming. Sometimes we'll call an audible if we feel like playing something, or some, you know, little kid had a sign in the audience. You know, someone will write, I've seen you 35 times and you've never played Aluminum or some song, you know? So we'll go backstage and go, Aluminum, guys. And then the radios start going mental. To
Nice.
they're playing Aluminum. They're playing Aluminum. And I see the guitar tech scrambling to get a guitar. Like, they pull it off in a matter of 15 seconds, 20 seconds. They pivot and they're ready for us to play any song in our catalog.
So whenever you book a show, what's on your rider? I mean, are there certain things that you want to be there whenever you're playing? Are there certain things that you ask for, like
There
VHS tapes of X-Files?
Yeah. Now you may have heard this before, but the interesting thing, like Van Halen is the one that people always bust out. That like
He wants all brown M&Ms.
Yeah, like they had really what seemed like really diva-ish requests. The interesting part about that was those things were in the rider so that they would know immediately when they got to the venue if people were paying attention when they read.
He's not allergic to the color green.
Yeah, no, they knew when they got to the venue, oh, they looked at every detail of our rider. And our rider's super simple. It's like mixed nuts, fresh fruit, bottled water, bottle of red wine. Like, it's super simple because at the end of the day, you're paying for it. Like,
Yeah.
It's stupid to be excessive with your rider. Keep it simple. And if you want something on a particular day, you can, like, you have a production runner. You can send something out for anything you want. It makes no sense to spend thousands of dollars a day on shit you're just going to leave behind anyway. So we're fairly, what we used to do though is put one weird item in the rider for that exact reason, just to know that they were paying attention.
Yeah, I didn't know that. That does help explain it.
I used to work at a nightclub, and I ran the lighting rig. I was very good, like very, very good at it because I play music. So I was, you know, everything was so synchronized. It was perfect every time. And I would also handle the writers. And so I was the guy who, for the most part, would get these items. And a lot of the times they would ask for cocaine.
Right.
Like a lot of the times. I don't know if I should name the people that actually asked for them. I probably shouldn't, but
Yeah.
it happened a lot. And most of the time I wouldn't get it. And they would be very pissed. And it was so hilarious. It's like you can't just put these things on there like drugs. Like who the fuck do you think you are? We're not in Amsterdam, first of all.
I like how you said most of the time I would.
Yeah.
Most of the time I would not. If the guy didn't answer his phone.
And then I was like, I got your blow, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At great personal risk to my self-harm in this puritanical nation, I got your drugs. Did anyone ask for handguns too?
Yeah.
An assortment.
It is Texas.
I remember one time God, hey Drew, who's the guy from Scream who was Dewey? What's his name?
Matthew Lillard.
No. He was Dewey. He
Oh.
was the cop.
Arquette, David Arquette.
David Arquette showed up and he had
Yeah.
2 hookers with him. And he came up into the DJ booth and he was hanging out with Skrillex. And they were I swear to God, I was like, what is going on? That's when I decided I needed to leave. I needed to do something else with my life. I was like, I can't keep doing this.
Well, the type of club you worked at was like an after hours electronic dance club. So you gotta
I would get home at
some of
5
that.
a.m.
Oh,
Yeah, and it was terrible. But the thing is, I would wake up at like 11 a.m. and I would still be functioning because I didn't like to sleep the entire day. I was a day guy, I like to,
Right.
go swimming, whatever. But yeah, it was a terrible job. I mean, I did it for several years.
This place was like hidden underground, no windows. You had to go through
Yeah.
an alley.
The coolest person I met was the singer of Live. He came in. Yeah, he did a DJ set and he was like so nice. Like such a nice guy. Like the coolest guy I'd ever met. You played with them? Of course you did.
Yeah. We played with it.
That's so cool though. I mean, do you still have a lot of connections from
We played with Aerosmith. We played with KRS-One. We played with Tribe Called Quest. We played with we've been on so many weird bills over the years. But no, I guess you were leading to have I stayed in touch with a lot of those people? Not really, because I wasn't the scene guy. I wasn't the party guy. And I lived in Toronto, not LA or New York, So when I wasn't on the road, I was in, and a lot of time I'm up at my cottage now. I have a place on a lake that's I'm 3 hours northeast of Toronto. I'm in the middle of nowhere, and this is where I like to be when I'm not working.
I have to ask this. 10 things I hate about you. When did you guys get that call, and how excited were you that they wanted to put your music in their movie?
My kids love that movie, and
I've never who doesn't? You've never seen it?
Oh wow!
You got to watch it.
I haven't seen American Pie either. 1 week is in that movie too.
Okay. Well, 10 Things I Hate About You is way better than American Pie, in my opinion.
My daughter actually said to me recently, you should watch it. It's actually really good.
It is. It really is.
Yeah, it holds up a lot better than American Pie. That's for sure.
That was, the real crest of the wave for us in America. And requests to license the song were coming from all over the place. And we said yes to a lot. We said no to a lot. My biggest regret of that time is we said no to an animated feature that wanted to license 1 week for the opening. I was a big animation nerd at the time.
What was it, Shrek?
Oh, I was gonna bring up.
How did I guess that?
Well, because you wanted to ask about.
They were
Smash
like,
Mouth
okay,
earlier,
let's get Smash Mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they went with Smash Mouth when we said.
Oh man. We need to, you know what? We need to get the lead singer of Smash Mouth on here, and you guys need to duke it out.
Shows together. We've talked lots, but So that's a regret, but at the same time, it was really hard for Smash Mouth to be so associated with a massive kids movie.
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm
so
sure that changed their career forever from that point.
totally. I think it was actually really hard on those guys.
And you know what? I remember then afterwards, one of their songs was in Mystery Men. And I feel like that kind of like led them in a different direction, but you still couldn't get your mind off of Shrek,
Yeah.
which is a movie I totally hate. I hate Shrek.
Really?
I can't stand it. I
Well,
can't stand it. I don't know why.
Shrek when I saw Shrek. Like when they asked me to use the song in the movie, I can't remember if it was not Mike Myers on the original cut that I saw, but it was at the very least it was Mike Myers not doing that Scottish accent.
Oh, interesting.
This is interesting. So they show you the movie and they're like, "Hey, we want your song in it." So that's
Well, it's all like a very early, like almost like what would you call it in animation? Like it was like a test. It wasn't fully animated.
yeah.
But I was saying I was an animation nerd, and DreamWorks hadn't done anything great yet.
Yeah.
You know, and
Wow.
so I was like, I don't want to be associated with a DreamWorks anime.
Oh
Yeah,
no.
you wanted Toy Story.
Well, to be fair, I'm kind of glad that it's not in Shrek because it could have ruined it. It
Yeah.
really could have.
Well,
If you think about it.
yeah, it would have made me an enormous amount of money, though.
It would have. That would
There
have
is
been
that.
so nice. So how does that work? Do you get residuals or do they just give you a lump sum of
It
money?
depends on the deal. Like, it
Yeah.
totally depends on the deal. But the fact that I wrote the theme song for The Big Bang Theory eclipsed everything else in my career
Good job.
by a huge margin.
Good job.
Yeah, and it's right up.
Second song that I wrote in the shower.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't gonna do it, and I had a conference call with the guys at 10, and I actually said to my wife, I got this conference call with these guys developing a show, and I didn't bother to write it. So I'm just gonna call them and say thanks for thinking of me, but you know I didn't have time to do it, so I was gonna recommend somebody to them. And my wife said, "Who's it for?" And I said, "I don't know, this guy Chuck Lorre." And my wife said, "Chuck Lorre?" Well, maybe. And she said, "You should Google him." And then I did, and I was like, "Oh, he's a big deal. He's got a couple of really successful shows." And it was like literally like 25 minutes until the call. I got in the shower. The whole thing came to me in the shower. I called my wife and said, "Write this down." She wrote it all down. I recorded it straight into GarageBand on my laptop, like using just the built-in mic in the computer and an acoustic guitar. And I sent it to Chuck Lorre and Bill Prady. We got on the call, and they said, "We love it. It's perfect."
That's
Wow.
incredible.
25 minutes in the shower.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, this man is a genius.
Well, it I don't know that every music is, I mean, Brian can speak to this way more than me, but like it's one of those mediums where it's best when it's just kind of, you don't have to overthink it.
Yeah.
And you even specifically, it seems like improvisational performance is part of your skill set anyway, so it's kind of a perfect storm.
Going way back to high school, I always wanted to be better at visual art, and I don't have the facility for it. There's something I'm missing about creating visual art. I wish I could do it better, and I was trying really hard. And I had a painting class in my last year of high school, and God, my paintings were terrible. It must have been so frustrating for my art teacher because he's like, this, you know, clearly a thoughtful, intelligent, artistic kid. He's always performing on stage. I was in all the plays. I was, you know, in a couple bands, but my paintings were so terrible. And then one day I forgot that we had a painting due, and I borrowed somebody's. I had been working in oils, and I was really trying to understand, you know, light and perspective and working in oils. I borrowed my friend's acrylic paint, and I took a piece of the board that you're supposed to tape your paper to and paint. I painted right on the board. I did it in the hallway outside of the classroom before we walked into the class, and I set it down to be graded, and it was wet still. And the teacher said, "Oh, it's wet because you're working in oil." And I said, "Actually, this one's acrylic."
Yeah.
You know, because it dries in 5 to 10 minutes, right? It's the highest mark I got all year. And it was that, like, because I just painted, like, there was something impressionist about it. And I think about, like, we're talking about a high school moment, but I learned a lot in that
Right.
moment from that teacher. You know, it was cool. A couple of years ago, I was in a gallery, and I saw this beautiful still life natural painting of a waterfall, and I went up to it, and so I go, "Oh, holy shit, that's the waterfall near my cottage." Like, I was drawn to it, first of all, because it was beautiful, and it was really it was not like a photorealistic still life. It was very impressionist. And I look at it, and it's actually got, like, it tells you where it is. And I go, I know that waterfall. Like, I've been there. That's incredible. And then I look, and it's painted by Keith Cornell. And I go,
Wow.
Keith Cornell was my high school art teacher. And so I go to the gallery owner, and I go, "Is this guy Keith Cornell? Was he an art teacher in Scarborough?" And she looks at his bio, because he'd retired from teaching years previous. It was the guy. So I bought the painting, and it hangs in my cottage now.
Wow.
So I think of that moment when I was really just getting the band started and starting to write songs. I learned a huge lesson from a high school art teacher who was just like, go with your gut, go with your impulse. It's not about technique, it's about emotion.
You know, whenever I was in high school and even before that, I had always drawn. I never really painted, like sculpting, like with clay, but I mostly did just very detailed drawings. And like kids in school would pay me to draw stuff for them. And I was like very, very good. I don't really draw that much anymore, but in my art class, I would flunk every single year. And my dad he's so confused, and he's like, "I don't get it. You're an artist, but you flunk art class." And I'm like, "Yeah, because they tell me what to draw and they expect me to do certain things, and I don't feel like doing it. Like, my friends are paying me to do things. I can do that." You know? Yeah, but yeah, art class.
Yeah, and art, you know, it's a strange thing in the first place to be graded
Yeah,
on art, but
I know. Yeah,
I
why
guess
would they do that?
level, though, they're trying to teach kids who think they're taking a bird course that there are actually principles to art, right? And
Yeah.
once you learn the principles, then you can mess with it. But you got to demonstrate the fundamentals before you can get all Thelonious Monk on them.
Yeah, Brian.
Yeah.
Brian did
You know-
not learn the lesson that you
You know
learned.
what? I forgot about that. Yeah, they teach you the principles of art and shading.
Yeah, and they teach
And
vanishing points and
oh, wow. Now I remember. This is why I hated it. Yeah. They were telling me how I should do art, and there's a certain way to do it. And I was like, no, there's not a certain way. It's the way that I want to do it.
Right. Well, when I learned, though, because making like early band posters, like, it was a revelation. I used to do block lettering, right? And so I'd use grid paper, and I'd write out the word, and then I'd like extend a 45-degree diagonal line on all the letters and then connect them so they're big block letters, right? But then in 12th grade art class, I learned about a vanishing point, and holy shit, dude, when you make those 2D block letters and you connect those lines back along vanishing point lines, that shit comes to life.
You've just
Okay.
invented 3D. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then I guess you learned something.
Well, no, I mean, yeah, that's
Did you ever used to draw the S? You you draw like a diamond.
Oh,
It's like a rectangle
like a paperclip looking
diamond.
thing?
Yeah, like a paperclip. And then you just yeah, never mind. It's a big 90s thing that I'm sure
I
everybody did.
guess I learned about vanishing points by drawing two squares on top of each other and connecting those lines. But I was never a visual artist.
But the vanishing points are different because when you draw two squares and connect the lines, it's a representation of a cube in 3D space, but it doesn't incorporate the rules of perspective, right? So imagine you draw a square, right?
Yeah.
And you draw a dot in the corner of the page. Now you connect all the corners of your square back to that one dot using a ruler. Then pick any point along this infinite square you've created and draw your other square in. Now you have a perspective drawing.
Oh, snap. Okay.
Are you an art teacher? I'm very confused right now because we're leading down a path. I just don't even know where I am anymore.
It's a fallback career for me.
But I'm very interested in this vanishing point, and you seem to be as well.
Good album name, concept album, maybe.
Yeah, I think that you should write an entire album.
Yeah.
This is a dare. I dare you to even write just a single called Vanishing Point.
I'm gonna write a paper on it. I'm gonna do
maybe just a pamphlet.
Yeah. Speaking of pamphlets, I was talking to my kids the other day about conspiracy theories.
Ooh, let's get into that.
Well, here's the thing. Pamphlets. When I was a kid, a crazy person was a disheveled, raving person on a street corner handing out pamphlets.
Mm-hmm.
When I was a kid, a flat earther or someone who was into contrails or 5G being delivered via vaccination, they looked crazy because they're crazy.
And
right?
you could see that in person. Yeah.
Because they were disheveled. They were passing out things they'd photocopied at the library, and you could tell, oh, this is horseshit because it's coming from a person who's a lunatic, and I shouldn't trust that information. And now that same lunatic is publishing information that looks like the New York Times or CNN. And so people have lost all perspective. I just did a little charity thing just now trying to encourage people to get vaccinated. Why does a guy in a band have to tell people to get vaccinated? Like I said, listen to people who went to medical school.
Right.
Not people who have an iPhone and a Facebook account. They don't know what the fuck they're talking about, and our country is spiraling into the third wave of an aggressive virus because people think they're smarter than immunologists.
Listen to science, people. I just got my second dose, and it's such a relief. It's so weird. Like, I'm still not exposing myself, out of respect for everybody else. I'm still taking the proper precautions. I'm wearing a mask wherever I go. If I hold an event,
but you're wearing it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it's like I feel so relieved now knowing that I got it, because I do believe in science and I believe in medicine, and there are people out there who actually study this stuff. Yeah. There are people out there that are a lot smarter than me, and I'm not going to listen to some asshole saying that. Yeah, exactly.
You can hide your crazy a lot easier.
Hook, line, and sinker, eh, Brian? You just do whatever the man tells you.
Yeah.
My buddy at the auto shop says not to get it.
I mean, if he knows how to change your oil, he should know how to
Right?
Yeah.
Wow, this guy obviously knows everything.
You know what? I have a song on my new record called Flat Earth. Um, and I like recently, last year, well, I keep saying last year, but last year was a black hole that didn't happen. It was the year before because I wrote the song for the record that we recorded last year. I went into a barber shop and I'd never been in this place before. And the guy cutting my hair, cool guy, super handsome dude, looked like super hipster. It was like a very hipster, old school barber shop. Um, this guy's cutting my hair, and it was the day that they'd released the first picture of a black hole. Right? They first photographed a black hole, and he goes, "Yo, man, like, did you see the photo of the black hole?" And I go, "Yeah, that's so crazy. It's so cool." And the girl 2 chairs down goes, "Yeah, like that's real." I went, "Excuse me, what?" And she goes, "You just believe everything that NASA tells you?" And I said, "Well, it wasn't NASA. It was cooperation between like 30 international astronomy agencies. They all had to pool their data and come up with this image. Like, it didn't come from NASA." She goes, "Whatever." And then she said, "You know, I've spoken to pilots and they have never seen curvature." And I said, "I am a pilot and I have seen curvature." And,
Yeah,
then
and
you think, you know, like
There's no curvature.
these NASA images, like, you really believe there's people in outer space? And I said, "Well, actually,
Oh wow.
a good friend of mine is Chris Hadfield, and we recorded a song together while he was on the International Space Station." So,
awesome.
like, I was like, "I know a little bit about this." And she's like,
Yeah.
"Okay, well, why then, when airlines are flying, why don't they have to constantly point the nose down? Otherwise, they'll fly right off into space."
Oh wow.
And I said, "Well, first of all, they do have to constantly point the nose down. That's a fact. And the reason they don't fly off into space is because escape velocity is something like 70,000 kilometers an hour. So they don't go fast enough. But yes, like for 80 years, planes have had instruments that compensate for the curvature of the Earth and constantly tip the nose down. So, like, somebody on Facebook told you that was a mystery, and everybody in aviation knows the truth of it. And you
That's
now,
the problem with social media. It's creating idiots.
yeah,
Well, it's helping
Instead of
them-
guys in the street
yeah.
handing out pamphlets, we have assholes all around us spreading misinformation through social media, and everybody believes it.
more than idiots, it's creating idiots that think they're geniuses.
Yes, they think they have all of this information at their fingertips, but they're not doing the research. They're just listening to what other people are saying who are not qualified to be saying anything.
And I will
It's-
say, there was a really good documentary. There's something about the curve, behind the curve. There's a documentary about flat earthers, and it's really,
I need to watch that.
you do, because it's super sympathetic, and it sort of gets into the psychology of it, saying like, these are not stupid people. These are people who felt isolated, or they sort of mistrust, you know, for various reasons. They mistrust the news, they mistrust media, they mistrust authority, and then they find a community online and they start thinking, "Oh, yeah, I never really, like, I didn't like my science teacher," or whatever it is that motivates it, right? Then they find out, "Wait a minute, I've been being fooled all these years, and now a whole community that like me, and they listen to me, and they've told me all this shit that isn't real, but now that's my reality now." You know, it's really good, because it could have very easily been a doc that was like, "Look at all these fucking idiots that believe in flat earth." And instead it was like, look at this horrible system that facilitates the spreading of misinformation so that genuinely smart, compassionate people get deceived and become kind of radicalized in, and you know, obviously radicalized is a hot word, but it's the same thing that's happening. People are getting radicalized politically too, but in terms of knowledge, they're getting radicalized to these beliefs that are completely nonsensical. And any bad idea you have is verifiable online. There's someone saying, yeah, that's what you should do.
Exactly. Yeah, the number of people you could find that share your beliefs if you have to go out into the town square with your trench coat and pamphlets is going to be negligible. And yeah, and you can't hide that. I mean, in person, but you can hide it on a Reddit forum.
Yeah.
And I mean, the flat earth thing is kind of the logical conclusion of such easily disprovable conspiracies, to where if you can get buy-in on something like that, then you know we've reached a tipping point where it's an ideology of like wanting the same reason that she said to you, oh, you just believe everything the government or NASA tells you. You could easily retort, oh, you don't believe anything any expert tells you ever? Is that a more sound?
Everything that everybody on Facebook
Yeah.
tells you? Don't believe what an astrophysicist tells you?
Yeah.
I stay away from Facebook. I have for many, many years.
2018.
I think Facebook is a very, very negative space. I don't know. I've got a bad feeling about it from the get-go. Like, I mean, right out of high school, it's like people that you never even hung out with now want to be friends with you on the social platform, people you never even talked to. And it's just kind of confusing. Why do you want to be a part of my life now when we never even talked?
Yeah.
Why do you want to watch my life? Why am I going to post pictures of what I'm doing in my life so that you can see who you think I might be? You know, you have this,
who you're pretending to be,
who you're perceiving this person to be, because that's really what you're doing. It's all perception. You know, people are posting photos. You don't know what's going on in that person's life. You don't even know them for the most part. And I don't like that. That's why, you know, on VCR World, I keep it strictly, for the most part, I keep it just VCR World. I don't like to share my life, my children's stories, my children's faces, just because there are people out there that will take advantage of that. I mean, and that's not what VCR World is about anyway. But, you know, even on my other Instagram page, I haven't posted a picture of my family on there for a very long time, just because, I mean, photos are for me. Photos are for my family. You know, videos of my family, that's for them. I don't get it. And that's like the social dilemma, that documentary. Like, I love that documentary.
I was just going to bring that up.
Yeah, it's so true, and it's so good. And
that documentary was so good and so scary and so on the money. And I watched it with my kids, and my 21-year-old said, yeah, but you know what, Dad, like, it's not all bad. Like, I was on Instagram the other day, and an ad popped up for a shirt that was perfect for me, because
of course it did.
Right? He's a guitar player, and it was like a joke that only made sense for guitar nerds, right? And he thought, oh, this is like, it was a shirt that had Jesus on it, and it said, my favorite chord is G sus, right? Showed the chord and had Jesus there. And my son said to me, so, like, you know, that was positive. That was cool. Like, it showed me a shirt that I totally loved, and I ordered the shirt. And I said, yeah, but Lyle, you weren't shopping.
Right.
You bought a shirt and you weren't fucking shopping. You were on the toilet. And
yeah.
And it knew what you wanted, and you fucking bought it.
Recently, I was watching Friends with my wife, and I was like, did you know that Jennifer Aniston smokes cigarettes? And she's like, are you serious? And I'm like, yeah, she was married to Brad Pitt. Like, there's paparazzi videos of them smoking everywhere. And she's like, no way. I was like, I know. She doesn't even look like she smokes. And so she's like, I'm going to do a little bit of research. And so she starts Googling Jennifer Aniston smoking cigarettes. Immediately after, she's going through her Instagram, and there's like people smoking cigarettes everywhere.
Right.
Like that's what she wants in life. That's what she's searching for. You know, she's looking for people smoking cigarettes. That's what they're giving her. It's cookies. And you know, people, and you always get that pop-up. Do you accept cookies?
Yeah.
It's crazy that you're being fed this life that AI is giving you. It's like this is what you want, and it's changing people.
Yeah, for sure. You just reminded me. Good pals of mine up here have a very Canada-centric podcast. It's called the Taggart and Torrens podcast, and I'm not going to recommend it for your listeners because if they're not from Canada, they will not have any idea what's going on. But one section they have, I don't know if you use this term down there for smoking, but we say on the darts. Do you?
Oh yeah.
Darts.
Darts, yeah.
I've heard them called darts, not the on the part.
That's a section of their podcast. Every time they'll bring up a random celebrity and they'll go like, Will Arnett on the darts or not? And then they like banter back and forth. Yeah, you know, he did that thing with Viggo Mortensen, and we know Viggo's on the darts, so he probably started then. I'm going to say he was on the darts hard. He's been trying to cut back, but he's probably still on the darts.
Leonardo DiCaprio. Leonardo DiCaprio's on the darts.
On the darts, for sure.
Oh, for sure. I mean,
on the darts. He's done too many pictures with Brad, who you know is heavy on the darts.
Man, especially after Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, you see like paparazzi videos of him like smoking a vape. Dude, you know he's on the darts. He just doesn't want people to know.
I was just gonna say we need a new segment of on the vape, but that's like a
on
fashion.
The vape.
That's a
Drew. Yes. On the vape. Who's on the vape right now?
Oh, who isn't? I'm not.
Yeah.
No, me
I've
either.
been seeing some good, some scary ads targeted at teens to not pick up vaping. So hopefully that doesn't. Hopefully that's a passing fad and not just a replacement for a highly addictive.
I'll use
drug.
a CBD vape, but I don't use like a nicotine vape or anything. Is that still harmful, you think?
Probably.
I don't do it all the time. Like I use it for like if I have like muscle aches or like joint aches.
I think the whole CBD thing is a bit of a fad.
But you think it's a fallacy, is what you think?
I think
that's what I thought you were gonna say.
I don't think it does much. Yeah, that would be
really.
More. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm all for.
I think Drew's on the darts.
The legalization of THC products. I just think that the trend of all the CBD topicals and beverages, it seems like a little bit of a gimmick.
Yeah. Well, it's the vape thing is funny to me. See, I told you guys I'm really remote here. My closest town is this little town called Bancroft, and it's like a 25-minute drive for me to get into town, and that's population 3,000. So, you know, there's a hardware store there and a grocery store. There's a butcher shop. There's like there's one car dealership in town, and there's 4 vape shops.
Wow.
And I just don't get it. It still makes me laugh.
I mean, it's definitely like that here for dispensaries.
Which like a large bottom part and it looks like a dildo.
Yeah, they have like a big battery.
Yeah,
and then a big tank.
And you look like you're blowing somebody when you hit off of it, and then it fills the whole car with vape smoke, or it makes a literal cloud around the person. I just think there's nothing douchier than a big, thick fucking vape cloud.
Oh, dude,
it's not cool.
When I worked at Kingdom Nightclub, they would be up in the DJ booth they'd be blowing clouds of smoke, and I was like, wow, that's a really big cloud of smoke. And he's like, it's not a cloud, dude, it's a plume. And I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, that's what we call it. It's called a plume. I was like, okay, whatever.
Well, that's
Cool.
Yeah, that's nice rebranding.
Yeah.
Well, a good friend of mine, a Toronto producer, mixer guy, Howie Beck, quit smoking and started vaping. And he said, the problem is now I vape 40 times more than I ever smoked. Because
you're doing it inside.
Do it inside. He doesn't have to go outside. So he's mixing. He's constantly vaping. He's like, now I'm like the equivalent of like a 6-pack of smokes a day guy.
I hate that shit. I hate whenever, before all this was happening, I would have people over, and some people would come over and they would vape in my house. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Don't vape in my house. For everybody listening, if you ever come over to my fucking house, don't bring your vape inside. Leave it outside. Yeah.
Leave it in your pocket, but don't huff
even at a restaurant.
Yeah.
I mean, you go to a restaurant, there are people literally vaping in the restaurant. I'm like, that's fucking gross.
Just
don't vape.
Vapor, dude. What are you being so uptight? It's just water vapor, except when it's not.
Yeah.
a little plumage.
Yeah, but where does that vapor go, dude?
Just water vapor plume, bros.
Off the edge of the earth, bro?
Yeah, it falls right off the other side.
It's just rolling off. Clouds of smoke rolling off.
I mean, it is just yet
plumes.
another.
I'm sorry, plumes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
If you take a an alien view of our society and so many things we do that are absurd, but imagining the accumulation of some kind of drug vapor that we've created is just yet another probably embarrassing.
I liked Neil deGrasse Tyson's take on whether alien life would make contact with us. He said, if there's a life form sufficiently advanced that they can accomplish greater than light speed travel, and they can actually, check out our planet, they're going to look at us and go, not
Pass.
worth it. Yeah, pass. Like, let's find a place where they're not killing the very planet they walk on, destroying each other over imaginary flying deities. And, there's a lot of reasons to skip this planet.
When I think about aliens, I always think of artificial intelligence. And I think that would be like the ideal situation of what aliens would be. Like they would just be like a completely different consciousness that we couldn't even imagine. And if they are watching us, what if they're watching us to ensure the evolution of mankind to create artificial intelligence? I always think about that. Like they could be like time traveling AI ensuring this civilization's evolution.
That's why you like the Terminator 2 pinball machine. That's basically the plot of Terminator 2.
I love Terminator 2. And you know what? It's one of my favorite action sci-fi movies. I think it's better than the first one.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm a T1 guy, of course. I have to.
It's dark. That's why you love dark movies.
It's a horror movie.
You like
movie.
the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, and I prefer the second one, just like I prefer the second Terminator.
I just sold the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles pinball machine.
Why?
How much did you sell it for? Yeah. A lot. Yeah. Did you sign it?
No, hell no.
What? Come on, you're a celebrity, dude.
The people I sell pinball machines are my buddies. They
I would just sign it anyway and just tell them later on in life.
I did get my good, like, I don't ask anybody who I'm, like, I don't ask for autographs, period. But,
me either.
But I did ask my friend and co-writer, like, he's a good pal, but Chris Hadfield, Canadian astronaut, commander of the International Space Station, I had him sign my space shuttle machine.
That
Okay.
seems like
Nice.
a fair use of of your friendship
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
See, now that's a good autograph.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had to do it. I wouldn't, like, I've met so many of my heroes in music. I've never asked anybody for an autograph.
I think if I met Elon Musk, maybe then I would ask for an autograph. Maybe, but probably not. Like I said before, Drew, I've told you this. I'd probably just ask for some hair. Can I have some of your hair? You know?
Yeah. I mean, that's no one's gonna say no.
That
to
way
that.
I could just clone my own Elon Musk one day. And I won't even need an autograph. He could just be signing autographs for me in the background, just like
that's one of your eBay accounts.
Great.
yeah, exactly. Hurry
Great.
up, Elon. We got a deadline.
So
Perfect.
Brian wants to clone one of what the world has determined to be smartest, most powerful, innovative people, so that he can have them sign autographs in a closet.
He's such a brilliant man.
Yeah, that's
Not so that we can double
yeah.
the rate of space exploration.
Nope.
What? Elon, I am most excited about Elon recently. I've mentioned a couple times how remote I am here. My phone line internet service here, I get about 2.5 megabit.
You get Starlink?
I've signed up for Starlink.
All right.
It is going to change my life up here.
You know, he's doing so many things that are changing a lot of people's lives, and especially with Neuralink, with, you know, people that are blind or people that, you know, are deaf. Like, it's going to help a lot of people. And especially with Starlink, you know, a lot of people don't have good internet.
To rural everywhere.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
He's
really,
so brilliant. And
I'm,
I don't get, I'll read a lot of his tweets in the comments. People are like, why did people think this guy's so smart? Like, what? What?
Yeah.
Are you joking?
There's a huge wave of people that think he's just bought smart people. He's a pretty innovative thinker.
Yeah. But that's still smart.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I think he's a pretty neat guy to watch. I don't understand the outrage about him hosting Saturday Night Live. He's one of the celebrities in the world.
Yeah, some of the castmates.
He might not be good. We'll see. That'll be interesting.
He said in a tweet, let's find out how live SNL really is. I think that's what he said, something along those lines. And 3 of the cast members were like criticizing him, saying that he's not their favorite CEO. And I'm just like, what? I would be so excited if I was a cast member of SNL and I heard he was coming on. I'd be like, that's the biggest celebrity.
Yeah. Well, he's not an unflawed human being. He didn't close his plants during the start of the pandemic. He's not distributing his money in a lot of different ways he could be. He's criticizable.
Yeah, I don't think he's a savior. I don't think.
I mean, Brian has.
Well, he said people don't have to come to work if they don't feel comfortable.
Oh,
he also said things don't get made if people don't make things. So he's right.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of other people put things on pause. So,
yeah. No, I'm not here preaching that he's the greatest guy on the planet, but I think he's a great choice for a host for Saturday Night Live.
Yes, it's going to be great.
There was so much discussion about who the host of Saturday Night Live was, and if it doesn't work out great, it won't be the first time that Saturday Night Live didn't have a great host.
Right.
I'm wondering if he's going to talk about Dogecoin.
Yeah,
we hope so. That's for sure.
Are you an owner of any Dogecoin?
It's Douchecoin as far as I'm concerned. I don't like the cryptocurrencies personally. I don't like imaginary financial trading. I think it's going to send us into a tailspin eventually.
That's a very reasonable opinion to have. Yeah, especially treating. I mean, Doge is based on nothing except virality, and which we've learned that can make some people money in the last few months. So
yeah, there's lots of things that can make you lots of money that aren't ethically worth doing. I think.
Yeah.
Well, he is the Doge father, so I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, but
Well, they're gonna do sketches about it. I would imagine.
You think
yeah.
so?
Oh yeah.
if I'm a Saturday Night Live cast member, and I find out Elon's coming on, that's a gravy train. Like, there's a lot to write about.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if he's game, which I'm sure he will be, if he's game to poke fun at himself, and they'll have a field day with it, and it'll be great.
Oh, he will. Yeah, I mean, he's
Saturday Night Live back in like 2000, I think, 99 or 2000, right around then. It was a blast. It was amazing. And
you hosted it?
didn't host it. The band was on it.
Nice.
When we were on it, Gwyneth Paltrow was the host. And I loved it. I loved being a part of it. And it wasn't during any era that people say is like the greatest era. Like, everybody has their opinions of like when Saturday Night Live was supposedly great and when it's not. It was
Right.
it was totally amazing. It was totally thrilling to be there. It was amazing to see them do what they do. And Saturday Night Live is 100% live.
So you found
Is-
out. Yeah.
Was Will Ferrell in the cast at that time?
No,
No.
no, I don't even remember the whole cast. It was a long time.
It's
ago.
it's awesome that it has spanned so many generations. I think like in our lifetimes, I don't know, there was definitely a lull around the time when I would have been younger and like getting into it, or it just wasn't something my family watched. So I feel like, yeah, the Will Ferrell generation, the last 10 or 15 years is kind of when I jumped on watching it. But it's just, yeah, it's so many different cultural touchstones too, and
Yeah.
launched so many careers. It's crazy.
I think Molly Shannon was around when we were on,
Mm.
and might have even been like in the Fallon era. I'd have to look it up.
Yeah.
All I remember is Gwyneth in the sketches at the time. Like, I remember the sketches that she was a part of, but I really don't remember the cast that well.
Yeah, they have most of the seasons on Hulu. So if you like go back, you on Hulu, you could go back to like, I think it's like season 20. But they don't have anything before then. I found this app, which is not a sponsor, called Peacock, and they have all the seasons. And I started watching the earlier seasons, and I was like, oh shit, this is why they're not on Hulu, because they are, I mean, some of the stuff they say is really off colored and not acceptable at all to say today.
Right.
Like, I saw this Chevy Chase episode. He's with Richard Pryor, and I'm not going to go into what the episode is about. People could look it up. Look up Chevy Chase, Richard Pryor SNL skit, and it's just like, I can't believe he just said that on TV. Like, real weird shit. So I'm but it's so different now, SNL.
Yeah,
Like, I watch it, I try to like it, and like I think I watch it because it's nostalgic for me, and it's like a weekly event that I could look forward to. Now that I haven't been going anywhere because of the pandemic, it's just like, oh, cool, this is something to do on a Saturday night.
I don't
But-
watch it regularly, but if there's a cool band on or a host,
Yeah.
then I'll watch it. And
Yeah.
there's always something that makes me laugh. And we're talking about a show that's been around since the late 70s.
Yeah.
It's changed a lot.
It's so crazy how long it's been on.
Writers, different. Like, I think it's
Yeah.
pretty great overall. Yes, it's had its ups and downs, but it's like definitely a comedy legend institution.
I really like the Papyrus Ryan Gosling episode where do you know what I'm talking about, Drew? Where
Yeah.
he's
It's making fun of the Avatar font.
yeah.
Yeah. Basically.
He's like, why did you pick that font? He's like, I think he like pulls up outside of the director's house of Avatar, and he's just like looking at him like he wants to kill him.
Yeah, well, it's like such a nerdy joke, and yet it resonated with like anyone that's seen movie posters
And then
before.
and then it's like hookah shops.
Yeah.
Did you see the documentary Helvetica?
Yes, I love that documentary.
Love that.
Yeah.
People so passionate about fonts.
Yep.
Especially me. I use fonts every single day of my life, and I constantly am hunting for new fonts.
Well, I love people saying Helvetica is perfect. It's beautiful. It's the most readable font. It's the most unassuming. And then you have people, Helvetica is the worst abomination
Garbage.
font. It is
I think
wrong.
Arial is the worst.
Yeah.
Arial narrow.
Yeah.
They all have their place, but it is Helvetica was like
I don't like Courier.
Yeah.
That's the typewriter.
I really
font,
like Tahoma.
Oh,
Never used it.
Tahoma. I like to say it too.
I think I use Verdana the most, I want to say. And George, I use a little bit for if I want a little serif action.
Well, imagine this, Drew. I use Verdana on my writing software.
There we go. We're kindred font souls.
I find it
Tahoma is a very indie chill font.
Don't try to
joking.
convince us.
I don't know.
Switch to Tahoma. Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
we're very comfortable in our Verdana lifestyle. But yeah, no, I actually work for a web design company. So choosing fonts for client websites is one of the biggest tools in the toolkit. Mixing sans and serif fonts has become a trend, which is kind of crazy.
Right. Does anybody so here's our concept. We're pretty set on Zaftings. That's what we want for our
wingdings and
wingdings. Oh, that was great. In the 90s at school, we would have writing class.
You can have coded messages, right?
Yeah, and wingdings was the best.
You'd send a message in a gibberish font, and then they could highlight and then convert it to Times New Roman.
Yeah. Okay, well,
this is such a nerdy conversation. I love it.
We avoided Neuralink. I mean, it was a little touch and go for a second there. But
listen, I'm not going to talk about my diet tonight.
Yeah.
I'm not currently on a diet. Anything goes.
I am.
Are you really? What are you eating?
Drop this COVID weight. I only actually put on a little COVID weight, but I had a lot of extra weight before we went into lockdown. So basically, I'm just trying to stop eating like I have two assholes, and that's helping a lot.
Yeah.
What I'm doing is I'm being very strict about portion control, and I'm mostly cutting out sugar and empty carbs.
Good.
Hardcore Atkins. It's nothing hard line.
Sugar's the worst.
Yeah, I'm eating less. I've mostly cut out sugar, but I'm not avoiding vegetables that are high in sugar, like carrots. I'm still snacking on.
Yeah. Well, that's okay. I stay away from sugar as well, and I have for a very long time, except when I drink wine. I mean, that's the only thing that I feel like that's my only sugar consumption for the most part. I try to eat pretty clean other than that. But even like
I have a leg up because I don't drink alcohol, and I know that's
good
consumption for a lot of people. But here you go. I've mostly cut out sugar. I'm not drinking any sweet drinks. And I'm avoiding bread and potatoes and
that's good
fried stuff. So I'm eating lean meat, lots of veggies. I started on April the 11th. I was 248.8 pounds, and I have lost 16 pounds since April 11th.
How tall are you?
That's incredible. Yeah, that's not even a month.
1.
You're what? 6'1"?
6'1".
Okay.
I'd
I'm
like
6.
around 200. I'd feel really good around 200. So I've still got.
I'm 6. I'm 6'7", and I weigh like 224.
So you're lean.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I try to lose weight, which sounds weird. I'm used to 216. I like 216. I think that's a good weight for me,
Yeah, I
but
think
I
thrilled.
can't do it anymore.
I'd be thrilled with 216, and I'm a half a foot shorter than you.
Yeah, well,
I think I just have really heavy bones.
50.
So
So
really heavy bones on this guy right here.
yeah.
I've got very frail, lightweight, easily bendable bones.
For the people listening, Drew, let's just kind of describe you for the audience.
Me describe me, or you're gonna describe me?
No, you. Yeah.
I'm 6'3", brown eyes, medium length hair, which has recently been cropped into bangs. Unfortunately, I'm hiding those under a hat right now, but picture early 90s Winona Ryder, but taller, skinnier.
I was going to say Eddie Vedder. Like you're giving me
Okay.
Eddie Vedder vibes.
There we go.
Yeah, I'll take that.
But you're 6'3". Eddie Vedder was a short dude.
Yeah, I'm
We're all tall.
I'm tall but very skinny, and not like necessarily in a fit way. Just I'm like probably like 175 right now. I don't even know, but
Wow.
yeah,
175.
yeah, that's usually about what I am if I'm. Yeah,
Man,
if
I don't
nothing
know.
crazy is happening.
You're gonna have to send me your diet.
It's not. It's
You're gonna have to put it on like an Excel like worksheet, whatever.
I'm eating sushi tonight.
The bass player in my band is about 6'3" as well, 6'2" or 6'3", and he has basically weighed the same as he weighed in high school for his whole life. He has the craziest, fastest metabolism, and he's just a super lean runner body type, and he does run all the time.
Yeah,
Like
well, there you go.
Is a superhuman individual. At the end of high school, he was like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to go for the Olympics or go for Toronto Symphony Orchestra or go, with this rock band. He was kind of making a decision. And I'm convinced he would have been insanely successful no matter what path he took, because he's one of these guys that is just so driven. His 4x800 team, his varsity team, won the nationals. So Jim Cregan is an unbelievable athlete, and he's wavered by a pound or two on either side, like since he was 18 years old. And
yeah,
he looks the same. He still looks like he's in university, and he's 51.
Yeah, good for him. I mean, I'm definitely not skinny because of my athletic ability.
Well, you're pretty scratched up, Drew. You're very chiseled and right? I mean,
that varies. Yeah.
Oh, does it?
It
varies on pizza days.
Yeah, well, I think my metabolism is slowing down.
Good.
I would probably have to cut out some of my vices like drinking to get back in that P90X style level of
man,
fitness,
the P90X days, those were killer.
Yeah,
those were
killer.
Yeah,
I bought one and I carried it around on a tour bus through 35 states, but I never tugged on it once.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I whenever Drew and I first met, like, he would always be doing P90X with his roommates, and I would come over and I'd be like, well, I guess I'm gonna do it too. Like, I don't have any friends in Austin. Like, I just moved here. So I started doing it, and it was just like a pain in the ass. Yoga sucks. I gotta say, it's not for me. I mean, I'm sure yoga, a lot of people love it. It's not for me.
Well,
I am not flexible at all.
Yeah, and it was like a 2-hour long yoga thing.
Oh God.
It's like it's the same thing with diets. If you can make it something reasonable that you can sustain, you'll stick with it. But if you try to change your entire, lifestyle in 30 days or 90 days, it's probably not going to last.
Brian, you just reminded me of one of my favorite jokes. A guy goes into a gymnastics club and he says, "Hey, I want to learn to do the splits. How long is that going to take?" And the trainer is like, "Well, I don't know. It depends. How flexible are you?" And the guy says, "Can't do Tuesdays." Come on now. It's a good family joke.
That is a good one.
My
man.
keyboard player worked with Lou Reed for years. He was Lou's band leader, and he told that joke to Lou, and Lou said, "First of all, that's not funny, and second of all, not even a joke."
I always think of one joke in particular. It's a joke that my dad always told me when I was a kid, and every time he would have friends over, he would always tell the same joke. This lady is driving down an old farm road, and she sees a sign in this yard, and it says "Talking Dog Free." And she stops, she backs up, she pulls down this dirt road and pulls up to this old house, and there's an old man smoking a cigar on his patio, rocking in a rocking chair. And she's like, "What is this, a joke? You have a free talking dog, and you're just gonna give him away? Like, really, a free dog that talks?" He's like, "Yep, he's out back. You can go out there and grab him." And so she goes around back and she sees this dog, and she's like, "Hello, dog." He's like, "Hey." She's like, "Oh my God, you can talk?" "Yeah, I can talk." She's like, "Well, how did you learn to talk?" "Well, like, why are you in a cage?" She's like, "Well, I used to work for the FBI, and then I worked for the CIA, and then, man, this guy just found me walking down the road one day and put me in a cage and put me in his backyard." And she's like, "Well, I'm going to get you out of here." And so she goes up to the old man and she's like, "Listen, I'm going to take him, but I got to know, why are you just giving him away for free? He's a talking dog." He's like, "'Cause everything he says is a fucking lie." It's not even that good of a joke, but it's one that I know.
It's a conspiracy dog. No, right. Yeah, I don't get it. I'm gonna have to pull the read here. Yeah.
He's a fucking liar. It doesn't matter that he talks.
Oh, he didn't work for the FBI. I get it. Okay.
No, yeah, everything he says is a lie. So why would you want a lying dog?
Let sleeping dogs lie, they say.
You don't know any jokes, Drew?
I just did one. That was like a pun on top of that joke.
Oh, okay.
Let sleeping dogs lie. Yeah.
Oh God. Yeah, that's a good one.
Well,
Hey guys. I'm just gonna check something right here. My computer screwed up. That joke to Lou. Uh-oh.
Did your audio track not record?
Holy shit.
we have the
My-
backup at a minimum.
My Pro Tools just crashed and quit.
Oh,
Can
no.
you hear me?
So the whole thing.
Yeah, we can still hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I just checked it and the audio was there, but it stopped like right after I started talking about Lou Reed, and then it stopped.
Did it save?
And I hit save and it crashed.
Uh-oh.
So it's supposed to auto save. So I'm just going back to check now.
It's okay. This is going to be all part of the podcast. These modern problems that we face.
Yeah.
This is one of the problems with, this whole pandemic is we can't actually meet up and have a podcast. We have to rely on internet and technology.
Yeah, we could have popped up to Toronto and then driven 2.5 hours northeast of that and just played some pinball.
That's I also like that joke about, I'm a big fan of collective nouns. Like a group of geese is known as a gaggle of geese. A group of crows is a murder of crows. And a group of middle-aged white guys is a podcast.
Yep. That's about right.
I guess I am middle-aged because I'm halfway dead.
Let's hope not.
Well,
let's hope you're.
I don't know. I think
third.
actually maybe I have till I'm 80. I think I got till like 82, 83.
Yeah, that's where you're gonna put your over under if you were accepting bets.
Yeah, if I had to put money on it, I would say 83.
Really?
Based on family history,
I look at family history.
Feeling.
I look at family history and I look at old people and I'm like, I don't want to be any older than 83. I know what people look like after 83 and it's not pretty. So I think 83 is a good age to die.
I've seen a single panel comic of this like withered old frail like this guy that just looks at death's door, and he's on like an examining room in a doctor's office, and the doctor said, remember how they told you all that clean living was going to give you like 10 extra years? These are those years.
Oh, good. Yeah. Yeah.
Bent and gnarled, but still alive.
My kids think old people are so gross.
Yeah.
I was over at my brother's house recently, and my mom's friend was there, and she was buckling up my daughter Kennedy in the back seat. And Kennedy told her, she's 5 years old. She tells her, your hands are really old. And then Fox, my son, was like, gross. And I was like, you cannot say those things. They're 5. And they always say it. They always tell people they look old. Like my mom, she'll be like, they'll both tell my mom, old people are gross. You're old. And I'm like, don't say those things. That's not nice.
I love that.
Did you teach them that?
No, I didn't.
When my nephew was a little guy, he's like 25 now. When he was like 6, 7, my mom's working in the kitchen, and he was standing there and like wobbling the skin down from her arm.
Oh, wow.
Christopher, that when you're an old, I'm going to come and slide in on your arm. And he said, you're dead, old man.
Hey, I got to ask, is your podcast?
I got to tell you, it didn't work.
It didn't
Pro
work.
Tools
It didn't save. Oh,
didn't
no.
fucking save.
Well, we're going to have to use the Zoom file, which is kind of glitchy.
It's glitchy right now, but I think on my end, Brian, I've been hearing Ed perfectly the whole time.
Oh, good. Well, I think it'll just be all very organic, and it'll sound the way it was meant to sound. And this is the way it was meant to sound.
What a fucking cluster.
That is.
So, I'm going to get the engineer that I usually work with, and he may know there may be some Pro Tools temporary file somewhere.
Yeah.
That he can. I saw the whole audio after the stopped, and it told me I had a buffering error, and then I hit save, and then it crashed.
Well,
so
that this
I think. So it may be there somewhere. So I'll get some help.
I mean, these are first world problems. I mean, there are so many other people that are having these issues right now. It's kind of hilarious that we're just going to add it into the episode because a lot of people are going to be able to relate with it. Before you go, I wanted to talk about some of your favorite movies and stuff that you're watching right now, like TV shows. If you have any movie recommendations that you could recommend to people or TV shows that you really like.
Absolutely. Well, late to this party, but I just got on Handmaid's Tale.
Oh,
And
interesting.
We just
I-
talked to Max
Right.
Minghella last week.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
So I love it. You know, the Canadian all super proud of Woods and the success. So it actually films a lot in my neighborhood in Toronto. Like I recognize tons of the scenery from that. It's not the only show that shoots in Toronto, but it's very about its landscapes in. Um, that's my mind. I just watched. I liked the first For All Mankind a
Oh,
lot.
okay. You're a big space person, it sounds like.
Yeah, I do enjoy more so I like realistic kind of depict of space exploration. I really enjoyed there was a movie that just came out with Anna Kendrick and Daniel Day Kim, Stowaway,
Hmm.
and the premise
Stowaway.
ridiculous. Yeah. So the
Yeah, I saw
premise
that.
was so someone
Well,
ended up on a flight that wasn't supposed to be there. But after you elect seat, like they sort of, you know, in fiction and stuff, you got to accept one thing to get the story, right? So you can accept that someone who wasn't supposed to be there on a flight to Mars, then it became a really interesting story about resources. And they didn't have the resources to have an excellent on that flight. So I really like that movie.
did you see
Cool.
Apollo 11? It was it
Is
it
that
recent. Is it what?
is it like a Apollo 11 horror movie kind of
No,
thing?
no, no, no. It's actual footage of the Apollo 11 flight that was released, and it was made into a movie. And it's like footage that's never been seen before, but it's laid out in a
Oh,
way
of
that
course.
it's such a beautiful movie. I love that so much.
I did see that too. Just the staggering scale of that rocket, like moving out to the launch pad, is like so incredible.
Yeah. Drew, have you seen it?
Yeah.
No, I haven't. I need to watch that.
Watch it immediately. I went and saw it in the IMAX, and it was just, oh man. I was so happy after that. It was just like, man, flat earthers take that.
They won't.
That I
Don't-
really liked this year. And I liked Paddleton a lot. I'm a big Mark Duplass fan,
Yep.
and Ray. That was a really good movie. It got dissed a lot for its kind of bro culture, but I thought it was a really sweet depiction of an interesting friendship.
This
Okay,
is,
I have a
I got
question.
one. Yeah.
Wait, go ahead, Drew.
Well, this is probably, I don't know if this is a polarizing thing for Canadians or not, but a lot of my friends here, including myself, are really into Letterkenny. Um, I don't know if you've seen.
Oh.
It's a comedy. Yeah, like it's kind of small town Canada isms, but the writing on that show is so unique and sort of like fast moving. I don't know if you're a fan of that.
I ton of it, but I am a fan of it, of what I've seen. And what's important for you to know, though, is Letterkenny is more like a documentary if you live in rural Ontario.
Okay.
Like, I feel like I know 40 guys like that. Like,
Well, that's great.
those
I mean, that makes it all the better.
I have to shift into that gear when I go to like fill up at the gas station or go in the grocery store, because that's how everybody is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you just talk about engines and you talk about weather and you talk about, like, I love it.
Were you ever on the
But
Tom Green
Letterkenny-
show?
Oh yeah,
Were you really?
yeah. I've known Tom for like 25, 28 years
Wow.
or something. I was on the Tom Green radio show when he was doing a radio show at his university in Ottawa before he even had the TV show.
Nice.
Um, I used to go skateboarding with Tom in the Byward Market in
Oh, that's
Ottawa.
awesome.
He's a good guy. We're still in
Nice. Yeah, he's
touch,
doing so many
and
cool things now with his traveling and his, he's making so many wonderful little short films on YouTube. Yeah,
yeah, I
and
love all
especially
the
like
stuff
whenever
in
he
the dead.
goes live on Instagram, like I don't care what I'm doing, I drop everything. The other night I was watching Interstellar and I was so into it. Such a good movie, one of my favorite space movies, and I had to stop it. I was like, oh, I got a notification that said Tom Green was going live. I was like, oh shit. Well, I'm done watching Interstellar, and I watched his live stream until like 5 a.m. It's just like he's such a genius. I love everything that he does. He's so funny.
1992, I'm in a restaurant in the market in Ottawa with a couple of guys in the band and Tom Green. And this group of young girls came over to the table and asked for autographs. I'll never forget this. So I take the piece of paper and I write, I do my signature, Ed Robertson. I pass it across. Steve Page does his signature. And then I just pass it to Tom. And he writes in like, looks like a signature, but it says City Lights. And he hands it back. And then her friend hands me something, and I sign Ed Robertson. Steve signs Steve Page. I hand it to Tom Green, and in beautiful like signature script, he writes "bag of gravy."
Wow.
It's to this like still. If I'm texting with him, when I'm done, I'll sign it City Lights, and he signs it "bag of gravy."
Nice.
I mean, it's just as arbitrary as writing your name on a piece of paper. It's like, yeah, it's beautiful.
And those girls don't know that they got Tom Green's signature that day because they probably think they got three of the guys from Barenaked Ladies to sign something that they probably threw out.
Bag
like,
of gravy. I loved him.
Yeah.
like, I would pay a lot of money to get the one or both of those signatures right now.
We need to
that
make
have
this happen.
mine and Tom as City Lights and Bag of Gravy.
You should promote this whenever you start promoting your upcoming tour. You should be like, if you come forward with this signed poster, you'll get free tickets.
For sure. There'll be so many fakes though.
Right.
People
Oh, that's true. But don't. Oh, now they know what it says, so they could just write "bag of gravy."
I've spoiled it.
We can bleep
Oh
it
no.
if Brian
We'll
remembers.
bleep it.
Yeah.
We could bleep it.
Yeah.
So. No, the story's funnier with it.
Yeah, it is.
I've heard about like musicians tracking down their first guitar, and like getting it back in their collection because they sold it when they were 17. They wish they never sold it. That's the thing I want to get back is that one signed CD with Bag of Gravy and City Lights.
Come forward. The
So
proud owner of Bag of Gravy.
Before you go, really quick, I want to do a speed round. Top 5 movies of all time. Speed
so
round.
hard.
And these have to be at the top of your head because you don't have a lot of time.
Okay.
You have as much time as you want, but yeah.
Top
go
5.
Ahead. Top 5.
Blade Runner, not the director's cut, the original. I love the movie and I love the director's cut, but I don't think I would have understood it and connected with the movie as much if I hadn't heard it with the schlocky film noir narration that Harrison Ford tried to read so poorly that they wouldn't. And it ended up being perfect.
Hopefully Vangelis, just like drowned it out.
Yeah. So Blade Runner is definitely one of my tops of all time. I'm going to go film nerd and say Citizen Kane is also one of my favorite movies of all time. And it's because it's the first movie I studied in my like film criticism class in the 1 year I went to university. And I kind of learned how to look at movies through that movie. And I still love it to this day. I know it's a big critic's choice, but it's actually an amazing movie. Um, Here's a weird one because most people think this movie is super sappy, but I love this movie. I watch it once a year. It is super sappy, but I love it.
Titanic.
No, Jimmy Stewart, It's a Wonderful Life.
Oh, nice.
I watch it on Christmas Eve every year, and every year I bawl my eyes out when I watch that movie.
Oh, it's so good.
And I'm an atheist, and that movie's about an angel coming down to teach someone the value of their life and what impact they've had when they think they're just a small time player, but all the lives they've touched. That movie slays me every time. Frank Capra, I think, is the director. It bombed when it came out in 1942 or 43, something like that, when it was released. And it's become, of course, the classic that it is. It's definitely top 3 for me, not even top 5. Sometimes I feel like it's number 1. I've never watched any other movie as many times as I've watched It's a Wonderful Life, so maybe I should say that's my number 1.
Wow.
What would I'm gonna say fourth? Genghis Blues, documentary about a blind diabetic blues musician from San Francisco traveling to Tuva in the northern mountains of Mongolia to compete in a singing contest. It's one of my favorite music documentaries of all time, and if you haven't seen it or your listeners haven't seen it, please look it up. This guy Paul Pena, he wrote the song Jet Airliner that was a huge hit for Steve Miller, and he sold the publishing for $400, and Steve Miller made millions and millions of dollars off that song. And then he hears Tuvan throat singing on the radio and decides to learn how to do it, and ends up going to the tri-annual throat singing contest in Tuva.
Wow.
Incredible.
Well, now
yeah.
we have 2 documentaries to watch: Behind the Curve and Genghis Blues.
Yeah. And fifth, what would I say? That's fifth. Maybe Brazil.
Oh yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah. It is, I think De Niro's in it, and what's the guy's name who played one of the head religious freaks in Game of Thrones? I can't remember the name. And directed by Terry Gilliam. About a kind of dystopian near future where a clerical error essentially sends this guy's life into a tailspin, because as they're typing in the name of a convicted criminal, they make a spelling error, and so they send the SWAT team out to arrest this guy who's just like a clerk.
Yeah.
And,
You know what? I've never seen Brazil.
Oh my God. Have you seen The Fisher King?
I have, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
With Robin Williams and
Yeah.
Oh god, what's his name?
Yeah. I love
Lawrence
Terry.
Fishburne, maybe? No, wait, I'm just thinking of Fisher.
No. It's the guy who's in The Big Lebowski. What's his name?
Jeff Daniels?
Jeff Bridges.
Jeff Bridges, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how I couldn't think of his name. Yeah, that's a great movie.
Yeah. Yeah, so
Huh.
Brazil is probably number 5.
Oh
You
yeah,
know, I have this movie on VHS. I think I've been saving it. It looks really good. Looks interesting.
Oh
Is it-
yeah, it's
It's visually stunning. It's really kind of off the wall. The performances are incredible. The costume and makeup is insane. It's kind of a near future that the facial surgery that people are having, like where their cheeks are literally being pulled back by armatures that are visible on their heads. Like, it's
Yeah,
amazing. You got to see it. It's amazing.
I'm definitely gonna check it out.
What's so give me a movie that you think is amazing that you think I haven't seen that I need to see.
Oh, I could
Um,
give you a Canadian one that's one of my favorites. You
All right,
maybe
there we
have
go.
seen it, but in my top 5 for sure is Ginger Snaps, this werewolf sister kind of high school movie where one of the sisters
New,
is
right?
what?
Newish, like last couple years.
Yeah, 2000. Well,
Oh,
no, so not that new. No, like yeah, I think it's 2000.
oh well.
Um,
All right, I'm gonna
yeah,
add it to my list because I've actually heard that before.
it's
Uh,
definitely become a pretty, cultish classic at this point, but it gets John Fawcett is the director and Karen Walton is the screenwriter. I don't know if those are big names in Canadian cinema, but and Emily Perkins is in a lot of stuff. She's one of the sisters.
oh, cool. I
Um,
like her a lot.
yeah, I love that movie. So that's mine.
All right.
um, for me, it's kind of hard to recommend good movies. I like so many movies. It's just like I rack my brain and I'm like, well, I just don't know what to pick.
Well,
So I'll kind of narrow it down. I'll go 80s.
Brian, like I'm a movie nerd, and
Yeah.
I've studied film, and I really like good movies, but I also like terrible movies.
Well,
And
I tell you what, I'm gonna recommend 4 movies that are all um within the same subgenre that could be connected somehow.
all right, lay 'em
Okay.
on.
So the first one is Tough Turf, and these are all 80s movies. The next one is Thrashin'. That one has Josh Brolin. He's a skater who moves into a new town, and
I know thrashing. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, Thrashin's great. Rad, that's a really good one. And then the next one is actually a 90s film. It's I think it's 1990. So it's Airborne, and it's a rollerblading movie. But all those movies are pretty similar. Like Tough Turf, the guy rides a bicycle. Thrashing is skateboarding. Rad is BMXing, and then Airborne is rollerblading. But they're all kind of the same story. Like this kid moves into a new town, so on and so forth. They're all really good movies. That's all I could think of right now.
So you like a sports take on a Footloose archetype movie?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And I could have even said Footloose because then you have dancing, which is a whole other. Yeah. You're
Footloose
right. I never really thought of it like
is a
that.
great movie.
Footloose is great. So maybe that's why I like those movies so much because I love Footloose and I love Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
Actually, Drew and we watched for I think it was what was it, our first episode or second episode? No, it was our second episode. Whitewater Summer. Have you seen that?
No, I don't think I have.
Okay, well, scratch the list that I just gave you. Scratch that. Watch Whitewater Summer, and I'm not.
Excellent pinball machine.
Yeah, and it's Kevin Bacon. Who's the guy from The Goonies? Drew.
Sean Astin.
Sean Astin. Sean Astin. His parents sign him up to go on this. Uh-oh. Well, I lost him with Sean Astin. He's like, well, fuck Sean Astin. I don't care about him.
Yeah, that was
well, what's happening here?
great timing.
Well, maybe he'll pop back in so we could say goodbye. But
Yeah.
this is the longest podcast we've ever done.
Yeah, just when we thought we couldn't
But-
go over 2.5 hours. Yeah, we
But
hit
I
3.
think it's the best. I think it's the best one we've ever done.
It's
also.
a great one. I don't like to pick favorites, amongst my children.
Oh yeah,
but,
well we love every single guest that we have on.
Well, every new guest is like our new favorite. That's how you want it to be. It's like
yeah. So you haven't eaten dinner yet, Drew?
No, I mean, I haven't even brought it up once. You're welcome.
It's 10 o'clock here. What is it? 8 o'clock there?
Yeah, it's only 8, but luckily I don't have to make anything.
I ate crab tonight.
Really? Again?
Oh yeah. Well, my son loves crab now.
Yeah.
Hey, what happened?
My computer just died.
We are really putting you through the ringer.
I don't know
technologically.
what the fuck
You're
is
being
going on
watched.
here. It's
You're
crazy.
being watched. They don't like what you're saying. We got to get him off of this podcast.
It could be that.
Yeah,
Conspiracies.
crazy.
Are you on your
Sorry,
phone right
guys.
now?
Yeah.
Can we see your pinball collection?
Yeah, sure. Well, this is, of course, a very small part of my pinball collection, but here's the Rick and Morty machine that.
Oh, nice.
Beautiful color scheme. Obviously purple.
But this
and
is
green.
yeah.
This is kind of my jam. Like, this is like the era that I love. Really weird, like
I like that.
So
80s,
mid 80s. These early Stern games like Dragon Fist, where they didn't pay for the Bruce Lee license, they just made the guy look a lot like Bruce Lee. But I have more modern stuff like Game of Thrones.
Was that KFC?
Yeah, that's an old vintage bucket I bought at a yard sale and put up. Here's some I have the Elvira. This is a new Elvira game. But this is kind of my favorite wheelhouse, is this like early to mid 80s vintage pinball.
Fantasy stuff.
These are newer. Guns N' Roses. This game is unbelievable. Future Spa. It's
oh, nice.
Oh yes, come on now.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a lot of naked ladies.
Dave Christensen is the artist, very famous pinball artist from back in the day. Paul Ferris did the backglass. Dave Christensen did the play field.
The Future Spy typography, that font is the one that is my new favorite.
Come on.
Yeah.
Fathom, and then
whoa. You're gonna just skip over Jurassic Park? Come on.
Well,
show it to us.
Jurassic Park is incredible. Yeah. Okay.
Oh man.
Look, it's got a T-Rex that wags his head back and forth and eats the ball and spits it back out at you in a random direction.
Ah, that's cool.
He can sometimes, if he wants to, he can turn his head and place it right on the wire return. And then other times he just chucks it at random at you.
That's awesome. This is this whole podcast is slowly evolving into cribs.
Which is
it's
great
so
for
funny.
Audio. Yeah.
It's so funny because I don't watch that show, but anytime I've seen it, I'm like, I know I have way more money than that dude. Like, why does he live there with those cars? Like, what the fuck?
I remember there was a Lil Wayne episode, and he he lives in this piece of shit house, and he's like super loaded, but he opens the fridge and he's got like 20 bottles of Cristal. And he's like, now this is what's up. And I'm like, okay. And then he goes outside and he has like 10 cars. I'm like, whatever.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Yeah, man.
Anyway, it was such a pleasure having you.
Yeah, it was fun to chat, guys. It just felt like hanging out. It was a good time.
Yeah. So thanks for showing us your pinball collection. Thanks for telling us all these amazing stories. Your music is legendary.
I'm sorry about all the technical difficulties.
Oh,
You'd think
don't worry about
that
it.
a guy that records for a living would be able to figure that out. But
Hey, you know what? Totally fine.
You make the
and it's all
music,
part of the experience now, and it's part of this episode. You know, these
Yeah.
technical difficulties that everybody deals with. It's reality, and you can't.
Yeah.
I mean, you just embrace it. Whatever.
yeah, I've had to.
Yeah. So
Yeah, thank you. This was
we're
this was
looking
really
forward
great.
to seeing what you make next. And next time you go on tour, I'll be there.
Right on. New record, Detour de Force, is out mid-July, I think. And yeah, hopefully UK in the fall and US next summer. I hope you guys will come out. Tickets are on
Nice.
me.
Right on.
Awesome. All right. Take care.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Have a good night.
You too.
Bye.